Back, colleagues. Are we ready to start? Take your time. We're good. Right on time. Thank you. So our plan right now, sticking with this topic of temporary generation solutions, we've got cross-examination from the bondholders and then cross-examination from Haneda. Mr. Start, sir.
Yes, in 1 moment.
All right. Take your time. All set?
Yes.
All right. Mr. Brady.
For the record, Corey Brady, Weil Gotchel and Manges, representing National Public Finance Guarantee Corporation and speaking on behalf of the bondholder interveners. Good afternoon, Mr. Scoot and Mr. Kinoy. I think my questions, as you've been doing today, you've been switching off very well. So whichever one of you is better able to address, please feel free to jump in. So as was mentioned this morning, one of Genera's roles, or maybe its primary role as private operator, is to decommission generation units, right?
Yes, that's correct.
And one of the reasons why generation units would need to be decommissioned is because they're beyond their useful life, right?
Yes and no. Yes and no, because the units should be decommissioned because there's supposed to be generation coming in. So right now we can't decommission units as we would like because there is no generation coming in.
Okay, I understand your answer. I'm just asking more generally, a reason why one might decommission a plant is because it's beyond its useful life.
Yeah, if you decommission it's beyond its useful life, correct.
And another reason one might decommission a plant is because it's not environmentally compliant, right?
Correct.
Or that it can't be run at anything close to its nameplate capacity?
No. The only reason it won't be ran through its nameplate capacity is because of depending on the deficiencies that it has. And it's opt if we decide to repair them or not.
Are there some units that can't be run at capacity due to environmental limitations?
Well, we do have a consent decree. I guess that was put in prior us coming in. So yes, those units are still running based off of the consent decree. We follow that.
Okay, so if you have a unit that has, I'm just making up numbers here, but let's say it has a 400 megawatt nameplate capacity, and due to environmental restrictions, you can only run it at 100 megawatts. It's a less useful plant relative to its nameplate capacity, right?
Yeah.
Compared to a new 400 megawatt plant that can actually run at its designated capacity because it is environmentally compliant.
Yeah, but it depends if when you say non-environmentally compliant, if there's a consent decree that we follow that lets us run it at that, depending on if we're going to upgrade it or we're going to make the changes to make it environmentally compliant.
Right. I understand it might be possible to change a unit to bring it into environmental compliance. I'm just saying if you have a hypothetical unit that cannot be run at capacity because of a consent decree, as you're saying.
Yeah, hypothetically.
That's less useful than a new unit that is compliant at the same nameplate capacity, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. What does the term heat rate mean?
Heat rate?
Heat rate.
Heat rate is BTUs over kilowatt hours.
Is that?
I need you to talk a little louder and stay close to the microphone. And also, don't drop your voice at the end of the sentence. That's usually where the most important information is.
Okay. I'm sorry. Yeah, heat rate is pretty much BTUs over kilowatt hours. Higher heat rate means you use more fuel. Lower heat rate, less fuel. Pretty much how they characterize the units.
Okay, so it's like fuel efficiency for fossil fuel plants.
Correct.
And would you agree that there are some units in the PREPA fleet? I'll call it the PREPA fleet because PREPA owns it, but you understand that also refers to what Genera is operating, right?
That's correct.
Are there some units in the PREPA fleet that have a much worse heat rate relative to other units?
The thermal units are running around the same as the peakers. So, from my knowledge, they're running Not at their heat rate, their OEM heat rate, because they're not new units. They're running at a little higher heat rate. We're doing things to try to get the heat rate.
Great. Sir, here's the way it works. Mr. Brady is a very precise and skilled questioner, and he's doing classic textbook cross-examination, which is normally yes or no questions. You just try to do a yes or a no and leave it to your counsel to ask you to elaborate.
Okay.
I know you're very knowledgeable. Opportunity.
Okay.
Right now, he's just getting the motor going so we can get to the real point. So he's just trying to lay some foundations. You can tell by the look on his face or the tone of his voice when he's trying to trick you. He's not going to do that. He's just trying to help us all make good decisions. Mr. Brady.
Thank you. And for the record, I'm not trying to trick you, but
Absolutely not. You know what I'm getting at.
yes. Okay. And you said just now that some units have a higher heat rate because they're not new units, right?
Correct.
And a higher heat rate is worse, just so we're clear, right?
Yeah.
It means that you're generating more waste heat per unit of fuel.
No, yeah, it means that we're using more fuel to generate the same amount of megawatts going out.
Right. Heat that's not actually being used. To
That's
generate
correct. Yeah,
electricity.
you have losses.
And generally, a higher heat rate equates to a higher cost of operation, right?
That's correct.
Especially thinking about fuel consumption in terms of operating costs.
That's correct.
Do you understand, thinking about the entire bill that the customers pay and all of its components, do you understand that the fuel rider or the FCA clause comprises a very large portion of that bill?
That's correct.
Is it fair to say that it's not desirable to keep spending money on poor performing generation units?
No. And the reason, well,
You can,
Oh,
you
okay.
can finish your answer.
no, because every unit, the units are heat rate fluctuates. It's never going to stay steady. The units, every operating unit would have a set heat rate, and as things degrade, or if it's a thermal unit, the condensers get dirty, air heater baskets get dirty, the heat rate rises. It's our job as the operator to look at that and say, what do we need to do to reduce it, right? Do we need to go wash the air heaters? And that's what we do. We wash the air heaters because it causes us to derate. Condensers is a big component to that. When the condensers get dirty, I need more fuel to push the steam through it. So I got to take it down to wash. So it's, I can't tell you for a fact the heat rate is always going to stay low. It tends to fluctuate.
Okay, so I think I understand what you're saying. Are you saying that if you had a brand new unit and let's say you run it for 3 years without doing any maintenance, the heat rate's going to rise because it's
That's correct.
all
Doesn't
the
matter what
things you
unit
just
you
said?
have, you run it. It's like, I'm gonna use the car analogy, right? Same thing with the filter in your car. You could run it every 3,000 hours. You got to replace it, or you're gonna put more gas to get the same amount of miles out of it. So it works the same with the units.
Okay, that's fair, but let's just assume for a moment that you have the new unit and you actually are doing the right maintenance on it, the OEM recommended maintenance, and then you have a 50-year-old unit on which you're also doing the recommended maintenance. Generally speaking, the new unit is going to be more efficient,
Yeah,
right?
and inherently it's going to be more efficient.
And it's going to have lower operating costs,
It should have a lower operator cost. That's correct.
lower fuel costs, right?
That's correct.
And probably lower maintenance costs too, right? Because
Yeah, and it depends how they build it first, right? So if they build it correctly, then the maintenance costs. But I've seen units built from the beginning, and there's high maintenance costs because of the way it's built.
so you've made a comparison to cars a few times, and I want to pick up on that because I think it makes this very technical conversation we've been having today a little more understandable. But a fossil generator is basically just a giant engine, right?
That's correct.
And so thinking in the car context, because cars have engines and a bunch of parts too, you're familiar, I'm sure we're all familiar, that at a certain point, it makes more sense to just buy a new car as opposed to keep doing expensive repairs on a very old car, right?
That's right, but it depends on what kind of car you buy. These are classics, right? And they're desirable. They don't make them like they used to.
Are you saying there's some vintage aesthetic value to the plans?
No, I said that the way these older units are built, they're actually built to last, right? With a little bit of maintenance, right? Some TLC. Newer units, combined cycles, they actually do require a lot of maintenance because the way they're built. Okay.
Okay, so you're talking about the maintenance, but the fuel costs are generally going to be lower on the newer units.
Yes, yes. Fuel costs, and that's the whole purpose. You get a new unit, you want the heat rate to be low. So yes.
Just like if you're driving you said classic cars, you're driving a 1965 Mustang, fuel efficiency is not going to be very good, right?
That's correct.
Compared to, a 2026 Mustang, you might get the same horsepower with a lot less gas. And so with cars, in the analogy that we're using, the reason why at some point it makes more sense to buy a new one is because you might do one very expensive repair on the car, like let's say rebuilding the engine, right? And you sink all that money into the car, and then the next week transmission breaks, right?
That's correct.
Then you fix that, and then a month later something else breaks, your steering goes out.
That's correct. It all depends how it's been maintained.
Right. So there's a cost benefit analysis of, should I pay for the new car or should I keep dumping money into the old car?
That's correct.
Okay, I want to step back and talk about Genera's role and go back to decommissioning. So as I understand it, when a new purchased power plant, like I think one of you mentioned the Energisa plant that's planned, right?
Yeah, I think that one's planned, yes.
And that's a purchased power plant, right?
I'm not too sure. It's not part of our project.
Yeah, it wouldn't be owned by PREPA or Genera, right?
Yeah, I would have to say it's probably not owned by PREPA or Genera.
Yeah, it would be some third party that would build the plant, and then they would sell the output to PREPA. Okay. So to the extent there are new plants built like that under a PPA agreement, that would not be within Genera's scope of work.
That's not within our scope of work.
Yeah, you wouldn't be running that plant.
No. We're not going to run those.
I'm sorry, Scott. Is that your name, Scott? I just can't hear you.
Vladimir.
If you could speak closer to the mic, I can't understand what you're saying.
Okay.
Thank you.
And so because it wouldn't be within your scope, as you were saying, essentially every time one of those PPA plants comes online, Genera's role gets a little smaller.
That's correct.
And every time you decommission a plant, your role gets a little smaller.
That's correct.
Until eventually Genera is phased out entirely, right?
Yep. As long as there's no more units to operate, we won't be here anymore.
The commissioner just asked you,
Oh.
you need to follow through to the end of the sentence. It's really difficult, and we're very close to you, sir. I know you're doing your best, but try harder. Thank you. Go on, Mr. Brady.
Or to give another example, if a utility scale solar farm comes online, Genera is not going to be operating that, right?
No, we're not going to operate.
So I just want to be clear on this. I think you said this earlier, but I'd like to confirm. The San Juan units 7 through 10, so 7, 8, 9, 10, are currently out of service, right?
No, 7 right now is in an outage. That one should be coming back soon. 8 is out of service, 10 is out of service, and 9 is actually in operation.
Okay, could we pull up Genera Exhibit 24, which is Mr. Quinoy's direct testimony? We'll be going to pages 15 to 16.
So one thing just to clarify on the decommissioning, we could only decommission units if LUMA approves us to decommission them. Okay? So yes, our MO is to decommission all the units we have, but LUMA's the operator of it. If they don't tell us we can't decommission, we can't decommission. So that means we have to run. So we are in the presence of, hey, we got to decommission this unit. So they're going to say, no, you can't. We need more generation first. So until they feel confident enough that these units are running reliably and new generation comes in, then we can decommission.
I'm going to go back to that in a second. To the clerk. It is Genera Exhibit 24.
Mr. Brady, give us a list of your other ones, and she can
Sure.
have them ready. So there'll be, if you have any others that you know of at this time,
Yeah.
give us a list, please. Let's make sure we get that list. Go ahead, sir.
Yes. PC or Prep Consultant Exhibit 64.
Okay, PC Exhibit 64.
Genera Exhibit 22.02.
Genera 22.2,
02.
sorry, 22.02,
That'll probably be it.
thank you, Mr. Brady. Okay, we have the testimony up now. What page, please, Mr. Brady?
It'll be 15 to 16.
Okay, tell us when you're there, Mr. Scud.
And while she's pulling that up, I thank you for that clarification. So, and the reason is because Luma is the T&D system operator, right?
That's correct.
And so they essentially dispatch the power from your plants through the system to the end.
That's correct.
Okay. So they get to tell you when you take units on and offline.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, are we at 15 to 16? I'm sorry, I can't see page numbers on there.
No, there are 19.
Okay.
All set?
Yeah, good. Actually, this is a long answer.
Scroll up, please.
Okay, actually, no, scroll down. I'm sorry.
Up.
Yeah, just until we get to the question. Okay, yeah. So the question here is what budget allocation is centered to help increase the megawatt output of existing units? And then it goes on today and says, as of today, 2 of the proposed budget lines seek allocations for specific projects on the existing fleet, repairing units that are currently out of service. And then if we could scroll down, please, to, I believe it's B. And then it says San Juan 7 through 10. And it goes on to say this project is focused on recovering all 4 units, bringing them back to working condition. Does that refresh your recollection as to the status of units 7 through 10?
Yeah, it does.
So
But
they are, in fact, all out of.
No, they're in service. So one thing is the repairs that are being done right now in number 7 and the ones that are going to be done in number 9 for its outages. It's to bring them back online. There's still funding that needs to be done to get to tweak them up to where they need to be. So yes, that recovery would help bring them past where they currently are operating now, and to ensure the reliability of those units. Of 7 and 9, 8 and 10 are out of those units are out of commission.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm really just having trouble reconciling your testimony with what you're saying. So as I read this testimony, it says currently out of service, and then San Juan 7 through 10. And then it says the project is to bring them back to working condition, which implies they are not currently in working condition. So that's not what you're saying. So I'm just trying to understand what's correct here.
Okay, Joaquin, can you for the record? If you see the last line, all these repairs and upgrades will add approximately 200 megawatts to the current generation lineup and will also help run an additional 200 megawatts corresponding to units 7 and 9 with more reliability. So 7 and 9 are running. The 200 that we'll bring up was for 8 and 10. The purpose of this is one line. And one line includes the gasification as well as the repair. So in one line, trying to explain this, I understand why you may fall under a better explanation, because it was one line that had 7 through 10, the gasification, plus the repairs of 8 and 10. This was one line, that's how we explained it.
Okay, so so the record is clear. Let's just break this out because you're right. It is all kind of lumped together and it's hard to follow. So 7 and 9 are working, but not reliably.
They're working.
Okay.
They're working reliably, but a repair on the boiler will make them run better.
More reliable.
More reliable, of course, because you're talking about pipes that are 50, 60 years old.
Right. Okay. And then 8 and 10 are not online, right?
Are not online.
And how long have they been offline?
I can talk for 8. I think 8, from my recollection, was it came off before Hanetta came on. It was used for emergency use only.
And remind me, when did Genera come on?
July 2023. So 2.5 years, a little over 2.5 years.
And do you know how long before Genera came on that it was not working?
I could look that up.
Okay,
I
but
don't know exactly.
not as you sit here. Do
No,
you know
not as he here. No, I haven't looked at.
1 year, 5 years?
I would have to say if it was on emergency use only, it was in operation before we got it.
Okay, but not normal operation.
Not normal operation.
Okay, and then what about Unit 10?
10, no, I can't tell you the last time that 10 was on.
So it wasn't on in July 23 when Genera.
No, it wasn't on.
And you don't know how long before then it was last working?
No, I think the assumption for number 10 is whenever the TMs came in service, they use a transformer for number 10.
And when did the TMs come in service?
I'm not, I don't know when the TMs actually came in service. Was it after, I don't know if it's after Maria or, I'm not too sure. I don't know the exact date.
So maybe 2017, 2018, something like that?
Something like that.
Okay. So out of service at this point, probably 7 to 8 years for Unit 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
Scott, may I? I'm sorry because I was out and didn't have the opportunity to listen to the discussion about 8 and 10, but I just want to clarify that this is a rate case, not an IRP process, that in the approved IRP, 8 and 10 are out of service and to be decommissioned. So I don't know what this discussion is all about, but take that into consideration. Okay? Because it's not Genera. Genera, when jumped in to the operation and maintenance of the legacy fleet, they didn't sign to include 8 and 10. So we had to modify their GOMA in order to then to operate those two plants. 1. 2, it's not Genera the one who decides what to do with the whole capacity of the electrical generation system. It's the PREP. And it's the PREP the one who gives orders to Luma or to whoever, to P3, if we need new plants. So again, you're a regulated entity with a contractual responsibility. Limit your responsibility to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So as you were just mentioning, these units date back to the 1960s, right?
Mhm.
All 4 of them. And as Engineer Gonzalez testified earlier, the designs even go back to the 1950s, right?
Correct.
So the units themselves are around 60, 65 years old as we sit here today.
That's correct.
And the designs are 70 to 75 years old,
Yeah, I would assume so, yes.
better part of a century.
Yeah.
Would you agree that's quite old for a fossil generation plant?
That's pretty old.
In fact, I think you called them super old before lunch today.
Yeah, it's probably super old. Yeah, that's correct.
Would you also agree that these units are in relatively poor condition relative to other generation units? Industry standard, we'll say.
Industry standard, yes.
And would you say they're in worse condition than some of the other units that Genera operates in the fleet?
That's a tough question because a lot of the units are in dire shape, right, as we got them, right? So we're trying to make the best that we can with what we have to keep the generation on.
Yes, I understand. I'll try it this way. These are not your top performing units in the fleet, right?
8 and 9, I can't tell you the performance because they're off, but I could tell you 9 right now. It's pretty reliable. It's a little derated, but it's pretty reliable.
What about its heat rate that we were talking about earlier?
I can get you that number. I don't know it off the top of my head right now.
What he's asking, sir, is if you had to look at all of your plants and kind of rank them, where would you put these two plants? In the middle, at the top, at the bottom?
I would put the currently one that's on right now on number 9. I would put it up towards high middle.
Okay, what about the others?
If I have to rank all my sites, I would rank them as Coastal Sur being number 1. Then I jump to San Juan sites as number 2, Palo Seco and Aguirre.
Okay, so that ranking, thank you for that ranking. That ranking is in terms of reliability, right?
Correct.
And that's what you were talking about earlier when you said E4, the forced
Mhm.
outage rate. Okay, so I want to step back from that and instead think about them in terms of cost to operate, right, for the ratepayers.
Mhm.
That's something you consider in choosing which plants to run, right?
No, the ones who chooses which plants to run is Luma. They choose it based off of the heat rate and
That's
all
fair.
the consumption
Yeah,
and
they
all
have
that.
they have a dispatch
They
order,
have the
right?
dispatch order, yeah.
And the goal of that is to try to run plants that are going to cost the ratepayers less first.
That's correct. That is
And
the goal.
then as demand increases, you bring in the more expensive units, right?
That's correct.
Okay. So thinking about it in terms of that, the ratepayer costs, which as we talked about, fuel is a massive part of the ratepayer cost. Where does San Juan, I think you were saying 9 is pretty reliable. Where does San Juan 9 fall in that ranking?
As reliable, it stays on.
No, not reliable. Cost to ratepayers, fuel.
Ooh, I don't have that. I could get you the number. I don't have the exact number.
Okay, well,
He's
about
not
not the
asking for the
exact
number.
number?
He's just asking with respect to this plant, in terms of the economics of running it, would you consider it attractive, unattractive, or a real loser? High, medium, or low?
No, it's medium.
Okay,
Let me tell you, the way our Luma operates and runs the units, they based off of how fast they could come on and off. These are all thermal units. They take hours to come on and off. Okay, so that's one of the reasons why these units one of the reasons why we have to keep these units reliable, because when they need them, they have to be on.
Okay, and I think earlier today you said that these units burn bunker C fuel, right?
That's correct.
And bunker C fuel is a relatively more expensive fossil fuel, right?
It's midpoint. It's cheaper than diesel.
Cheaper than diesel, but more expensive than
Than
gas.
fuel, yes.
More expensive than coal, too, right?
I don't know the price of coal.
You're familiar with the AES coal plant in the system,
I am.
and you don't have any idea how the cost of that links.
I don't. It fluctuates, and I can't memorize. I didn't memorize the numbers on it. I usually just worry about my units.
That is part of the dispatch to the customers.
Yeah, Luma runs those units 24/7. They cycle us more often than they do them.
Would it surprise you if bunker C fuel is more expensive unit for unit than coal?
Would it surprise me?
Yeah, I mean,
It'll surprise me. I never ran a coal unit, so I'm not too sure what they cost.
okay, now we've been discussing this $125 million number for converting these units to gas. Do you recall that?
Yes, sir.
And that's a ratepayer cost, right?
Yes, sir.
NFC. This is for Mr. Kinoy. Do you recall earlier today saying that the $125 million was only a high-level ballpark figure from the OEMs?
Correct.
Meaning that, like all ballpark figures, it could change.
Yes,
And so it could actually wind up costing the ratepayers more than $125 million to convert these units to gas, right?
or less. Yes.
Is that generally your experience in estimating projects, that they wind up costing less than the OEMs say?
I've had my fair share of ups and downs, so it depends. So sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less.
Okay, can we pull up one of the exhibits I previously mentioned, Genera Exhibit 22.02, and go to the tab D1 Optimal? I'll just say for the record, this is Genera's revised revenue requirement.
Just to clarify, it's not that one. It would be the 22.3 rev, which is,
Oh, maybe it's not oh no, this is the filing schedule. But you can bring it back up on the screen.
What's the exhibit number? 887.
Does
Al-
that-
Also known as 22.3 Rev, correct?
This is the second time I hear another nomenclature.
Sorry.
Where do you get that other number? Because I got, this morning they said 887. I have that, but they also said that's the same as saying 22 something. And now you said the same thing?
The 887 is the number in the platform, in the Axion platform.
Mr. Hempley, if may I? If may I, Mr. Hempley, Attorney Pedro Vasco, on behalf of the IPC, the problem is if you go to the platform, isn't as marked, it's not admitted as an exhibit yet. So if you go to the mark part, you will see the 887, which is the 22.3. But you won't see that on the mark as exhibit. The 22.3, it only has the 22.2.
which is what I was using. Yeah, that's what we had seen on the platform as well.
Okay. So where do I go to?
It's the operative exhibit. It's the 22.3 Rev, which is NEPR exhibit 887, which was the exhibit that was pulled up this morning and from which testimony was elicited.
Is that exhibit uploaded to Axion
It is.
as of when? Because I had someone update this last night, so.
Yeah, it's marked.
Okay, well, I can go through this and hopefully the items line up. It just may take some more time. Okay, so tab D1 optimal. Can we go to item 123? And those are the line numbers for the clerk. Those are the line numbers, not the native Excel, but the, yeah, there you go. 123 using Genera's native line numbers. Okay, do you see that on your screen?
Yes,
Okay, and the line item says repair units 7 through 10 SJ. That's San Juan, right? SJ.
yes,
And modify to gas, right?
yes,
And that's the $125 million number that we've been talking about today.
correct.
Now, there are also a number of other line items in this document related to those same units, right?
Yes, for Unit 7, I believe.
Could we go up to line 110? If the clerk could just highlight that, again, using the native 110. Yeah, there you go. Do you see this? It says units 7 and 9. Sorry, it says San Juan plant, units 7 and 9 battery chargers replacement. Do you see that?
Correct.
And if you add up the columns over the rate period, that's $700,000 in ratepayer funds, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then if we scroll up some more to lines 100 and 101, the clerk could scroll up. Thank you. So then we have a San Juan plant environmental outage unit 7 and unit 9. Do you see those?
Correct.
And those represent a total of $5 million in ratepayer funds, right? Over the rate period.
Yes.
Okay. Could we go up to item 83 in this document? And that is, again, San Juan plant, general repair, boiler U7, not included in Fed funds. Does U7 stand for Unit 7?
Correct.
Okay. And that represents $750,000 in ratepayer funds.
Yes.
It also says in the name, not included in federal funds. So I'm assuming there is some portion that is federally funded.
Yes, the unit's being repaired right now under federal funds.
And do you know the amount that is subject to federal funds?
It's over, I believe it's over $25 million, but the total number I don't have in front of me.
Okay, so over $25 million of federal funds on this 65-year-old Unit 7.
Yeah, but I will have to get you that number, that correct number.
Okay, let's go to item 82. Love that. San Juan plant material and rewind generation rotor 7. Is that referring to unit 7?
Yes, the generator rotor.
And that represents a total of $3.5 million in ratepayer funds, correct? Over the rate period?
We don't see the whole,
Yeah, if the
Yeah,
clerk could scroll to the right, it's a wide document, but you can see the 1.75 million. And then as we scroll over, you can see, if you could keep scrolling, please, to the right. See another 1.75 million
I
for
see it.
fiscal 28. So the total of those is actually over three. It's 3.5 million, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Can we go to item 86? Can you scroll back to the right so we can see the item numbers? Thank you. And that is San Juan plant boiler structure coating application 5299756. Do you see that?
yes.
Are those numbers referring to the units?
Yeah, units 5, 6, 7, and 9.
Right. So it includes 7 and 9, which are among the 7 through 10 that we've been talking about, right?
Yeah.
And that represents another $3 million in ratepayer funds, right?
Yes.
Okay. Now, all of these amounts are incremental to the 125 million that we've been talking about today, right?
Correct.
To save us all time, I'm not going to keep running through all of these because it's a very large document, but would you agree there are a number of other incremental ratepayer funded projects in Genera's optimal budget related to some or all of San Juan units 7 through 10?
There are, yes.
Okay, and then could we scroll down to just, if you could just keep scrolling, it's toward the bottom. I think it actually is the last. Yeah, great. Just keep going until there. Perfect. Okay, do you see all these rows beginning at item 248 through item 275 that say all plants?
Yes.
That means those projects cover all your plants, right?
Yes.
So logically, that would include San Juan units 7 through 10 as well.
Some.
Right. I mean, they're within the span of all plants, right?
Yeah, you have IT/OT projects over there too that are not
Sure.
directly related to the units.
Okay. And I've done the math. You can do the math here if you like, but I found that they add up all these all plants projects to about $160 million in ratepayer funds. Does that sound about right? 160.
3 years?
Over the 3 years, correct.
Could be.
Okay, so logically, some portion of that $160 million is attributable to San Juan 7 through 10, right? Because they're part of all plans.
Some.
And again, whatever that number is incremental to the 125 million, plus all the other line items that we walked through, plus the ones we didn't walk through, right?
Yeah, but if you're looking at if you have a couple of different projects, right? You have a conversion, right? So that's the cost for conversion. Then we have our regular daily maintenance that we have to operate on these, that we have to do on these units. There's environmental outages that are there. There's stuff that goes towards those projects. Not all of them are related to, maybe they it'll help, but one project, one line item is for the conversion. Another line item is for an environmental project. Another line item is to replace the batteries because the batteries are already at end of life, right? So I can't say I'm doing the conversion. This is just recommended to be done, and they have to get done, right? So that's the reason why the individual line items are there. If not, if they were all related to a conversion, they would have just been all bunched up to a conversion number.
Right, but as we discussed, San Juan units 8 and 10 are offline, right?
Yeah, so
And they have been for many.
in all plants, it's not including San Juan 8 and 9, right? If there's a line item that's for San Juan 8 and 9, then it's directly for, 8 and 10 is directly for San Juan 8 and 10.
Okay, and then 7 and 9 spend all of these numerous line items on 65-year-old units as opposed to just a new one.
If I can't maintain it as an operator, and it's decided upon not to maintain it, then I won't maintain it. My job is to maintain the unit. And if I have to look at what's causing my units to not be reliable, and I have to put projects in to keep them maintained, not having batteries on a unit, if it doesn't work, it could be detrimental to the unit itself, right? Because we've seen it happen already.
Okay, so let's try it this way. If these 4 units are decommissioned, then none of the line items we've just discussed would be necessary, right?
No, yeah, if it's related to, because
It's
you look at
decommissioned.
all sites, it's everybody. It's all my whole fleet, my whole entire fleet. So I can't use the all sites as just for San Juan only. It's for everybody. Okay, the ones all sites.
That's not what he's asking. He's just saying, it's really a very simple point. It's getting close to argument, gentlemen, but basically he's saying is if you, excuse me, if you decommission the 4 plants, none of the costs that he's talked about for the last 10 minutes becomes a necessary cost. Is that correct, sir?
That's correct.
Okay, that's all he's asking.
May I add just one thing?
In 1 second, I just want to make sure you understand what he's doing. He wants to make sure that the record is clear, that it's costly that it costs something to keep these units going. And, he's building a case to see whether it makes sense for him to argue that this is not a good use of ratepayer money. That's what this is about. And you've given him his facts and he'll make his argument. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you.
Just another comment on that one. Yeah, you could reduce 200 megawatts, but you have to keep in mind that this past summer, many times our reserve load was way below, which would have meant that a lot of ratepayers over this past summer who have not had electricity and have had load shedding events throughout the summer. So
Okay.
we need to understand that 200 may seem expensive, but to the expense of some ratepayers not having electricity.
Right, yeah, I think
Okay.
everybody's made this point. He's making a point about cost. You're making a point about necessity. And the 5 people behind us get to make the decision about that trade-off. Next, Mr. Brady.
Yeah, I'm not sure it was responsive to my question, but since you went there, Mr. Quinoy, you're kind of talking about these 200 megawatts in isolation just now, aren't you? There are a number of other projects in the pipeline to try to add generation capacity to the system, right? And increase the reserve,
Yes,
including battery storage projects, right? Which help you address peak load issues,
we
among
have
others,
addressed big load issues, correct?
and new renewable PPAs and solar farms, right?
We don't have anything to do with the PPAs or solar.
No, I know you don't run those, but those are going to come into the system at some point in the not so distant future.
Objection
Right?
calls for speculation.
Do you know if any solar farms are planned to come online in Puerto Rico in the next 2 years? I'm asking.
He's
if you know.
asking, I'll take care of it. He's asking whether he knows. Do you know?
I don't.
Okay, but
So
Mr. Brady, I just want to say, I think the point you're getting across is pretty clear to everybody in the room at this point. I don't know that it's going to get any clearer. I think you've collected facts that are useful to the equation that you want to set forth for the commissioners.
Thank you. Now, New Fortress Energy is Genera's parent company, correct?
Objection, this goes beyond the scope of the testimony that was pre-filed or the ROIs.
Council, we've been here before. It's my opinion, which nobody has overruled, that the boundaries in this case are determined by the statutory just and reasonable standard. If we have people here that are capable of answering a question that can help the commissioners make a decision under that standard, the fact that the company has chosen to cast its testimony in a particular way doesn't preclude the question. So it's all about relevance to the statutory standard and the witness's knowledge. What is the question, please?
Yes, and just so the record is clear, the reason I'm bringing this up is that we were talking about gas conversions, converting a unit to run on one fuel to another, and this is relevant to that.
Please ask the question, sir.
So New Fortress Energy is Genera's parent company, correct?
Yes, it is.
And New Fortress Energy sells natural gas, right?
Yes, they do.
So in a world where San Juan units 7 through 10 were converted to run on natural gas, it's possible that New Fortress Energy would wind up selling natural gas to run those plants, right?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Okay, so hold on 1 second. Mr. Brady, I really do hesitate to interrupt you, but I'm thinking about the other day and wished I had spoken up sooner. Remember, we do have a conflicts panel at which the actual decision makers are the CEOs whom you and I and others can question. And I just want you to take that into account as you plan your cross.
This is a very short line.
I got you. Thank you,
In
sir.
relation to these gas conversions.
Okay, perfect.
And in that scenario, presumably New Fortress would be selling that gas to run these units at a profit, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
Do you know anything about the way in which Fortress Energy makes profit?
No, I don't. No, I don't.
Next question. I don't think this witness is competent to answer these questions. I know that the CEO said the conflicts panel will be, sir. I'm glad you're raising the issue. Gets everybody's attention.
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brady, for that efficient cross-examination.
I have some questions.
Oh, yes, sir.
I need to clarify questions that Brady made to Genera. Okay, Exhibit 887, Attorney Brady mentioned several line items that had the San Juan plant. And he said that affects units 7 to 10, and you responded yes. Is that correct?
Only the line items that reference 7 through 10, or the specific units 8 and 10. If it's not referencing 8 and 10, they don't belong to 8 and 10.
Okay, that's what I want to make clear because almost all the line items that Mr. Brady mentioned only have 7. And it seemed that you answered it for units 7 to 10, and that's not the case.
No, that's not the case because we
It's
just
only
had
for
one
the
line.
conversion.
That's
It's
correct.
the only time that we consider 8 and 10.
That's correct.
That's the same for the items that include all plants.
That's correct.
That does not include 8 and 10.
No, it doesn't.
Okay, just want to clarify that. For the
Okay.
record.
Okay, I think it would be most efficient for counsel to do her redirect oh, I'm so sorry.
Mr. Hamplin, I have another a question for clarification. When the chairman asked before about the units that are in service, for any of the panelists, are you aware that in the GOMA, Unit 10 is listed as out of service, and from the 7 to 10, that's the only one that is listed out of service. But are you also aware that the IRP calls for 2 of those units to be retired and mentions that they are out of service or have been out of service for some time? Are you aware of that too?
I know they've been out of service. Time that they've been out of. Yeah, no, I know they're mentioned they're going to be out of service, but the time link they're out of service, I don't have that off the top of my head. I don't know if that answers.
Yeah, but the IRP, you are aware that it
Yeah.
says that they have been out of service,
They have been out of
regardless of
service.
how long.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
May I suggest that you do your redirect of your witnesses now, and then you would begin your cross of Mr. Justo Gonzalez. Does that work for you, ma'am? Thank you. Please continue.
Exhibit 64, page 16, line item 1 to 6. It's regarding the Cambalache project that you also proposed.
Let's get it up.
Okay.
Page 16, please.
PDF 16.
Sorry.
It's PDF 15. I always reference the PDF of the number of the. I need to get it as well.
Do you have it, sir? Do you have it?
Something, but I don't know.
Commissioner, is that what you're? What's the question? What's the question?
It talks about Cambalache, the Cambalache project, that's another project that you recommend to do also for 30 million. And I wanted you to explain that project because it says it adds 80 megawatt capacity. How much is the capacity right now?
That unit right now is not generating, it's out of service due to a failure. So the proposal is to rehabilitate this unit in order for it to generate its nameplate capacity, which is approximately 80.
So you're requesting the ratepayers to pay 30 million and broken down in 3 years, I believe.
Yeah, to restore approximately 80 megawatts that are not currently being generated.
Okay. I understand, is that to be converted to natural gas? Because I know in another procedure you requested to convert Cambalache to natural gas. Is that the case?
It will be two different things. Right now, I just want to make sure I can generate. So my plan is to rehabilitate the unit from its current condition to working condition. This does not include that.
Okay, so why the difference of fixing 8 and 10, but also converting to natural gas at the same time and not Cambalache?
Because Cambalache requires 3 units to be converted. If that one gets restored, it will need to be a gasification project with the infrastructure to run 3. That's a lot of money to add in there and request the taxpayers. Our goal was to rehabilitate megawatts. So restoring it to its original condition and generate electricity. I know Genera has presented a project for gasification, but that's aside of what we presented here on the rate case.
Okay, my question now goes to Justo González, Engineer Justo González. Ingeniero, de Genera de solicitar los abonados 30 millones para arreglar Cambalache para tener 80 megavatios.
Sí, nuevamente para récord, Justo González. Cambalache, especialmente la unidad 1, ha sido una unidad que ha sido canibalizada. No, utilizamos el término canibalizada, que se le sacan piezas para restaurar las otras unidades. Y el tipo de daño, ¿verdad?, que tiene, yo no recomiendo que retorne al servicio y se invierta en ella. O sea, ellos mencionan 30 millones de dólares. Eso es unidades Alstom. Alstom es altamente costoso. Yo pediría, ¿verdad?, que ellos revisen los números con Alstom y que tengan un número más adelantado, ¿verdad? No sé hasta qué punto ellos y qué fecha lo tienen, pero Alstom es altamente costoso. Lo digo por experiencia, porque las unidades que son de Aguirre son de Alstom Power también. Era lo que era Asia Brown Boveri. Son unidades alemanas y suizas, una combinación alemana y suiza. Son altamente costosas. Hay una reparación. Yo supongo que va a sobrepasar los 30 millones de dólares, a menos que tengan una nueva, ¿verdad? Un update de esos costos. Lo que es Alstom pasa a ser GE ahora. Lo que es GE. O sea, diseños suizos, alemanes, están ahora en manos de GE con markup mucho más alto. O sea, aquí puede nuestros compañeros, ¿verdad?, si tienen un número actualizado, porque supongo que va a ser mucho más costoso por el tipo de daño que tiene allí.
Y eso está en su testimonio.
Mi testimonio.
Oh, sorry. Esa recomendación que nos acabas de dar está en su testimonio.
En el testimonio narré bajo el conocimiento de las condiciones de la máquina y la recomendación de no invertir en ella.
En Cambalache.
En Cambalache.
Muchas gracias. No, that was my question. I just want to know Justo Gonzalez' opinion on that project that Genera has recommended on Cambalache Uno, requesting 30 million to the ratepayers.
Council, if you're prepared, you can begin your redirect now, ma'am.
For that, Mr. Hempling, I'm very sorry. I just noticed I had a couple handwritten questions. Is it okay if I go through those very short?
Better to do it now before than after the redirect. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Mr. Scoot, I wanted to go back to something that you said earlier in relation to the conversion of San Juan Units 7 through 10. You were asked about the timing of that process. Do you recall that?
Yeah.
And
Yes.
Thank you. And I believe you said 2.5 to 3 years to complete the process, right?
Yes, that's what we're estimating.
And you have not yet started that process, right?
That's correct.
So that's 2.5 to 3 years from whenever that process.
That's correct. From whenever, if it does decide to get approved, it's from that point on.
Okay, so for example, if the Energy Bureau approved the conversions in May of 2026, it wouldn't actually be ready until 2029, say?
Yeah.
Okay, so it wouldn't actually be adding capacity to the system now?
No.
Or next year?
Correct.
Or the year after?
Maybe.
Yeah, or at any time during this 3-year rate case period?
Probably, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Vasquez.
These are questions for Mr. Scott. Earlier you testified about Genera's responsibility, one of Genera's responsibilities being decommissioning. What, if anything, is preventing Genera from decommissioning units right now?
What's preventing us from decommissioning units right now is the approval from our operator, Luma. Currently, we have in the works, we just got a conditional approval decommission for some of the peaker units that we have. So we propose to them what we want to decommission and they tell us yes or no. So until they say yes to decommission any of the units that we have, any of the legacy units, it's when we would start. Other than that, we have to keep working on maintaining them and keeping them reliable.
Why do you understand, if you do understand, that it is important to have available generation in the north of Puerto Rico?
The reason for having the available generation in the north is that's where all the load is. Right? All the load is in the north. You know, we have our big units there in south, and we have to push that load up to the north. So that's why it's important to keep generation up in the north. It makes it easier for transmission and distribution and so forth.
And what effect, if any, would decommissioning units 7 and 9 in San Juan have in available generation and reserve margins in the north of Puerto Rico?
Okay, so when it comes to the margins, they're not online, so they're not being accounted. It would help the margins. Since we don't have a specific date when new generations coming online, except for the ones that we're putting on, which is just a replacement of what we currently have and a little bit more to help for the peak. Other than that, I don't see anything in the pipeline. I hear about it, so we have to look for whatever generation we could put on the line.
Earlier, you were testifying about the conversions of San Juan units 8 and 10. What is the benefit, if any, to the ratepayers of making these conversions?
The benefit for the ratepayer is it's more of having the load when we need it. It's an initial cost, right, to get the units on. But once units are on, it's just maintaining them to keep them online, right? So there's always going to be an incremental cost until we get the generation that we need. For benefit, it may look like it's hurting them in the first come around, but it should be reduced afterwards because we won't be asking for that budget again.
And these units, they would operate on gas. Is that correct?
If they don't get converted, they'll be operating on bunker. If they can get converted, they will be operating on gas.
And if they do operate on gas, would that be cheaper to the ratepayers?
Yeah, it'll be cheaper to the ratepayer because of the fuel cost.
Do you have an idea of how much cheaper it would be and what benefit regarding cost it would have for the ratepayer?
I haven't ran the calculations on the studies on the costs, but if I compare it to San Juan 5 and 6 that run diesel, and I want to say there's about a good 20-30%. I have to take a swag number on savings.
This next question is for Mr. Quinoy.
Me?
Yeah.
May I? The lawyer asked you a question in relation to being a unit more cheaper than the other one, and you say yes. You're talking about your own plant because you are not making a comparison with other alternative that the Energy Bureau is looking for the whole system. For example, there are a lot of projects that are ready to be signed and executed that include batteries. You're not aware of that because you don't operate the batteries. Also, the Energy Bureau is looking for 800 megawatts of new generation for the next 10 years. Okay? For us, that we have the whole picture, we see that these new projects are going to be cheaper than any conversion. So, again, your lawyer is asking you some very good question, but still fixed in the old mentality where PREPA has a monopoly. That condition already was surpassed with Act 17. So right now here in Puerto Rico, the one who is in charge of planning and deciding whose plan is going to produce energy in certain time is not Genera. It's not even PREPA. It's the Energy Bureau because we are the one who, because the Act says so, are in charge of planning the whole system for the next years. So keep that in mind, please.
Just to be clear, I think not that he needs any interpreting, he's crystal clear, is that you, Mr. Scoot, have to look at what you're responsible for. You can't take into account on your own other alternatives, and I don't think the chairman meant any criticism of you. He was reminding us all that the choices that you make are only part of a much larger set of pictures, which are the Energy Bureau's to make. Did you have a response that you want to make, Sim? Okay. Yeah, no criticism was intended. But it was an important reminder to all of us that at any point in time, we are looking at only one small part of a much larger picture. Council, please continue.
Yes. This next question is for Mr. Quinoy. Earlier testimony, you were talking about in the OEM. Can you please define for the benefit of all what you meant by that?
First of all, I do apologize when I use acronyms. I should say what they are. Original equipment manufacturers.
Okay.
Original what?
Equipment manufacturers.
OEM?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the company that built the darn thing that we're paying for now. And they often enter into agreements with the owner as to, first of all, there's documents that guide you on what your maintenance procedures should be, and sometimes there's accompanying an agreement by which they will come and check and advise you or even carry out certain maintenance and corrective services. Is that correct?
Correct.
So that's the entity that you deal with. And the OEM also provides information as to what is the useful life of the unit. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
And also certain guarantees.
Yeah.
All
They
right,
will have recommendations on the use of the equipment, etc.
All right, thank you. Next question, please.
To earlier questions by Commissioner Torres, Engineer Gonzalez was talking about his recommendation on the Cambalache Unit 1. Do you recall that conversation?
Yes, I do.
Part of that testimony was that he's not recommending any repairs to that unit in part because from what I understood, it is now on the responsibility is with GE. Did you recall that?
Yeah, GE bought Alstom Power, so all the units that used to belong to them now belong to General Electric. Well, the technology, actually.
Okay. Part of your background as a professional was in GE, is that correct?
Correct.
Is there anything you can tell us about that concern by Engineer Gonzalez, and if it is something that really does affect the possibility of pursuing this project in Cambalache 1?
Yeah, Engineer Gonzalez points out an important thing, which is usually you want to build everything from the ground up. So this unit had a failure several years ago, and if you want to replace it with new constructed out of the box equipment, some of this is outdated. You need to go out and re-engineer it, and that increases the cost. The thing that we have in our favor is that these units have some time out, and some of the discussions that we've had is to do refurbishment on the equipment, utilizing parts from a sister unit that is available, and that's where the estimate of the 30 million come from, and where we had discussed the viability of doing this project was because of that.
And what benefits, if any, do you see to the repair of Cambalache Unit 1?
Well, several things. First of all, Cambalache plant generates electricity for the super acueducto, so for the water pumps that distribute for the metro area. They're the ones that actually generate. Besides that, they do have lines that go down all the way up to Costa Source in order to help them synchronize to the line and start the units in Costa Sur, as well as they have the capability to do black start. So in the north, these units are very important in order for us to return to service after, if you want to call it a small catastrophe, a blue sky event, etc., as well as being peakers that support the north when they need the electricity.
I don't have any other questions.
Okay, thank you, Counsel. And Ms. Vasquez, now I ask you to cross-examine Mr. Justo Gonzalez on the subject that has been addressed so far today.
Enough generation. Have you decommissioned plants that you know of existing units that Genera started? Has there been any plants that have been decommissioned to date?
Objection. I just want to clarify that the testimony was in fact they're not decommissioning because Luma is the party responsible for allowing decommissioning. It's not because Genera doesn't want to.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But can they answer the question if they have?
The one unit that's been decommissioned was Vega Baja.
Vega Baja,
Vega
yeah,
Baja has been decommissioned. The units were out of service already.
out of
Right.
service,
Yeah.
just like 8 and 10?
8 and 10, yes. But the difference is we need the space for the batteries that we currently have. Right. So there's two differences with having peaker units and having these thermal generator units, and it's the inertia that it creates when units come on and off and how they respond. The base load unit, peaker units, these are units that when we need them, they're there. They're fast response unit, but they usually are at a steady load, right? So if I have a peaker unit that it's not operational, it's not prudent to change, and the alternative was, hey, let's go put the batteries there. It's a good platform. It's up in the north. It'll help us for our peaker units. That's why we were focusing on the peaker units that we currently have that are not operating, and we were able to negotiate with Luma. Hey, look, we have these batteries coming in. We need the space to put them. And on the contrary, we have some peakers on Palo Seco that we're not going to decommission right now because we still use them. We opted to get rid of a warehouse to put batteries there also. So we are looking for alternatives. It gets a little harder when it comes to the bigger thermal units to decommission because of what they give, not only megawatts to the system, but the inertia to respond to disturbances. that the peaker units can respond to.
Yeah, okay. Have you requested to decommission other units to Luma?
As of my knowledge, I don't think we did other than the rest, but I would have to leave that to our panel that we currently have that deals with making sure that what units get decommissioned or not.
So that's actually an important question. Can you make a note, council, please, to determine whether Genera, well, just get us a list of the plants that Genera has gone to Luma with and said we would like to decommission these plants, and just indicate the plant and the date in which the request occurred and what the response has been. Is that possible? Is that a fair question to which there are factual answers, sir?
Yeah, that's fair.
Is that what you're getting at?
Yes.
Okay, thank you,
Okay.
council. And, why don't you come back in a day or two and tell us when we can expect that? And don't make anybody stay up all night about it. We'll work out something comfortable and we'll get it in the record somehow.
This Commissioner Ramos, regarding that, reference it back to the petition, which has, I believe, 6 line items referencing different decommissions and different plants. I had a question regarding the TM generator maintenance. Is that shown? Where on the petition is the cost of the maintenance of those 17 generators or 14?
I think we have a line item. We have a line item for the temporary generation is usually,
Temporary power.
Is it on exhibit 22.3?
It should be there. Maria, for the record, if you give me a couple of minutes, we'll find that line for you. But yes, it is.
I believe it's line 245 of the exhibit.
Yeah, I saw it. O&M temporary power. Okay.
Maria here again. Thank you for that. Yes, it's 245.
Exhibit 245?
No, it's
line
It's the
245.
line 245.
and that's
O&M temporary power.
that's the assigned line, not the Excel line.
That's correct.
Where
Yeah.
do I'm lost. I'm lost. Where do I
Let's
see
can we
that?
do it at the break. Can we do it at the break?
Okay.
Okay.
Take care of that.
So regarding that $19 million of cost, that is just the O&M. Do we have a? Okay. First question, who is in charge of requesting an extension? My understanding is that those generators are on a temporary basis. There's a permit that's temporary. Who is in charge of requesting an extension to that permit?
that would, yeah, those units belong to PREPA. So if it's a requestion of extension, they're the ones that are make the that request. We operate them, but we don't. If it comes due for them to be gone, PREPA will have to come in and say, "Hey, look, we're gonna put a request. Or you guys put a request in for. We put a request in for them. But right now, those units don't. They belong to PREPA."
Excuse me, Ricardo Payens could have the answer to this if you want to.
Yes, before I do that, I have to swear you, Mr. Payens. Would you please stand? Welcome, Mr. Payens. It's good to have you. Give me 1 second, please. Please raise your right hand, sir. Do you affirm that the testimony that you will provide today is true, correct, and based on your own and personal knowledge, and that, to the best of your understanding, none of the information you will provide today is misleading or truthful? Please answer affirmatively, orally.
Yes, I do.
All right, you are sworn, sir. Do you understand the question? You can sit down.
Thank you.
And for the record, Ricardo Payens, Chief Regulatory for Genera. So, Mr. Commissioner, how are you? The permits, we are working, Genera is working with EPA on getting the permits for the operation. That's the environmental permits. For the keeping the units running beyond the date established by FEMA after 2027, it's a project that was formulated by PREPA. So it's PREPA, the one that it's actually working with FEMA on putting the OXCATs. That's part of the project, and we need to put the environmental emissions controls. So that's, even though we are providing them technical support, they are the ones that started formulating the project in front of FEMA. And also for the extension, when the time comes, it's going to be potentially it's going to be PREPA asking for the extension after 2027.
Okay. So right now we're going to operate them till December 2027.
Yeah, it's at some point the discussion started, but FEMA said when it's closer to the date, probably potentially the year 2027, they're open to evaluate an extension or purchase under the federal guidance for what they call they have a term, it's called salvage value of the units.
Okay. And the $19 million, that line item for the temporary power O&M, that includes all maintenance and parts and everything except the fuel?
It includes operating it, maintaining minor maintenance, not major maintenance. Major maintenance is based off of hours. So whenever they're due for hours, they're not in our proposal because they're not due for hours. They do have issues with them. That's the reason why we try to look for funding to make some of these repairs. But the 19 billion just covers operating the units, the water, the auxiliaries, and so forth, and minor filter changes, oil changes, minor maintenance on those units.
Okay. So with that in consideration, where in I guess that would be for a dispatch question, but Mr. Brady asked a question similar to this. Where would they fall, taking the 19 million into consideration plus the fuel? Where do they fall in terms of cost? Is it on the cheaper side, the medium, or high?
No, those teams usually are on the cheaper end when it comes to fuel costs.
When it comes to fuel costs, but if you take into consideration the $19 million, essentially it's $1 million per unit.
The 19, yes, and that's us making sure we do the maintenance and the operation and so forth. Right now those units are being used a little bit more than just peaking units because they run a lot. Right, a peaker unit should have a capacity factor. Capacity factor is how often they run, right, in 24 hours. These units are running extended periods of hours. They should run normally 4 to 6 hours. They may run 10, 15, 20, 24 hours, depending on the conditions and what's going on in the fleet. Right, so these units are real. They're reliable. They're reliable units.
And you said they have been running more than a peaker unit. Is that what you said?
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's due to the generation issues that we currently have.
Okay. Thanks.
Does that 19 million, does that include, is that for 14 units or the 17 units that you're going to purchase, the 3 units that are pending?
Okay, continuing for the record, that's the estimate for the existing fleet that we have, not the 3 additional ones.
Okay, so when do you think, how much would be the 3 additional?
Well, we don't really know exactly even when those 3 additional units will be coming in. We have not been notified of them coming in.
Okay.
So it could take a couple of years for us to see them.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, let's do the cross-examination, and then we'll see where we are on the day's schedule. Council?
I don't have any questions for Engineer Gonzalez at this time.
Okay, thank you. Let me take a look at the clock here. Okay, in which case we are ready to go to the next topic. Now, You know what I'm about to say? I'm looking at the sum of all the subtopics that have to get handled between now and Monday at 5:30. And we all have a need to decide what the priorities are, because we've just used about, I'd say 25% of our time together to cover about 1/10 of the agenda. That happens sometimes. It often happens on the first topics, but we have a problem now. So I want to ask us all, this includes me, to focus on what the costs are that customers should cover. And there's also a level of detail that we can tolerate and not tolerate if we're not going to discriminate against the later topics. So let's all do the best we can. And if I am right, then the next topic on here is the deployment of the 430 megawatts of utility scale battery energy storage systems. Is that correct? Yes, yes. And give me 1 second, because that is my job to ask these questions, and I will do it very quickly. Which of you gentlemen is in a position to answer questions about that subject?
The two of us would.
Okay, give me 1 second to catch up with you, please. I've been busy. Okay, are we ready, gentlemen? All right, thank you again for being here. So first of all, can you tell us how much is in the rate case application for the 430 megawatt of utility scale battery energy storage system? Do you know roughly?
Well, the rate case originally had the decommissioning, which was subtracted from the final revision, as well as a line item for the maintenance of the units, which is line 246.
All right, so what's just what we're going to talk about for the next 5 minutes is what kind of money?
This would be the necessary contract for maintenance and support of the battery. So that would be software, troubleshooting, OEM support, etc. Any additional repairs, etc. on the equipment in order to maintain operationally the equipment from the manufacturer.
Okay, that's the components of the cost, and what would be the total cost?
So we had estimated, you can see it on the on this. Originally, we had estimated 1.5, if you want to call it, for the first year, 3.14 on the second, and the third. I will need you to scroll to the right,
Scroll to the right.
and 4.7 for.
Okay, so that's the amount of money we're going to talk about for the next 5 minutes, okay?
Okay.
All right, I just want to make sure we understand what we're getting for the money, and then I'll let you go and you can go on to the next topic. What stage are we at in terms of the development of this project?
Contracts for the award were already given. Manufacturing of the batteries is in place, and construction of 2 sites is already underway in Vega Baja and Cambalache.
Sorry, what was the last word?
Construction is started in Vega Baja site and Cambalache.
All right, and when do you think this project's going to be completed? Let's break this down in terms of mechanically complete, that is construction finished. Do you have an estimate, sir? Roughly.
Yeah. If you want, can I have 1 second?
Of course you can. Anything to ensure accuracy and speed.
Okay. So we have we have 6 sites, and they will range from 2026 until early 2027 for commissioning of the of all the sites.
So all the steps, mechanical completion and then energized and commissioned is what you include in the time span that you just described, sir?
Correct.
Okay, very carefully presented. Thank you. Are there any factors you could imagine that could delay the commission date?
Delivery of the equipment, which we have been already following up, not only the batteries, but also the supporting equipment, transformers, switch gears, etc. But there has been a plan and it's underway. And as of today, I have not been notified of any changes from the dates that I have here.
So what would be any risks? What would be the risks of, what would be the causes of a delay?
Yes, a manufacturing issue with one of the transformers that may delay the installation. We have backups on that sense in some sites in order to accelerate the process for reutilizing old transformers until the new ones arrive. So I think we have backups covered for that.
Do you know anything about the federal funding for cost share of this project? Is that available?
Yes, I can relate that to Maria, and she can respond to you on that one.
Ms. Sanchez-Bras, always glad to have you here.
Hi.
Do you know anything about this question?
Of course. Good afternoon, Maria here on record. Yes, we have been receiving the cost share as we have been making payments on the payment schedule.
And from whom have you been receiving the cost share?
CDBG,
Okay, as you've been making the payments.
that is correct.
No problem there?
We haven't had any problem.
Okay. Are you aware, either one of the two panelists or Ms. Sanchez-Bras, you're aware of of any kind of federal requirement that Genera has to have secured O&M funding before the federal source will send funds for capital expenditure? Does that question make any sense to you? It made sense temporarily to me. Mr. Scud?
No.
Sir?
I'm not too sure.
Not too sure about what? That the question is clear or that you know the answer?
That I know the answer.
Okay, Mr.
Neither.
Pinoy, no?
No,
Ms. Sanchez-Bras?
that's something probably that we should leave for the federal funds, a segment that they can actually respond to that.
Yes, ma'am?
Yeah, I guess if you can say it again. ask
Yeah, I'm going to say it again.
Yeah.
The question is, does the federal funders have some kind of requirement that you have to have in place O&M spending before they will release the funds for the capital expenditure?
Meaning FEMA and Core 3?
Yes?
Well, not that I know of, but certainly we can ask the federal fund team.
Okay.
Not at this point.
Mr. Payens, and help me if my question is unclear. Don't mind just getting it clearer. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Ricardo Valles for the record. So your question, if you need to have operation and maintenance costs identified, allocated in order to receive the grant?
I'll take that rephrasing, yes.
Now, the grant requires an insurance, to have an insurance in place for the equipment, but they don't require the funding to be pre-allocated. So you have to take care of and maintenance the equipment, to make it eligible in future disasters.
Well, so that's an obligation under the grant.
Yeah, of course. You need to take care of and in case of a future disaster, you need to take the measures to protect them in case a hurricane is coming. If there are some reasonable measures you can take to protect the asset.
All right, thank you. Do you know whether there's a warranty period during which Genera's O&M costs would be covered by the manufacturer?
Well, that's not a federal funds question, probably.
No, I don't mean it as a federal
Yeah.
funds question, so ignore that part. Do you know, sir?
Our contract does have a warranty clause that they follow. We can take a look at it if you need the specific details, but yes, there is a warranty clause where they will actually honor a warranty based on certain terms that we have agreed with them.
Right, but does the warranty clause require them to cover O&M costs for some period? You know,
I will need to verify. No,
sir?
I will need to verify. I don't know that.
Okay. Because if there was such a clause which required them to cover O&M costs during a warranty period, that would be less of a need of O&M costs for you. That's the basic logic. You follow me?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you can find that out, let us know. Does that make sense, sir? All right. Thank you for your patience. And are you incurring the O&M expenses now?
No,
When will you start incurring the expenses?
when units are commissioned and available.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand this. You are asking in the revenue requirement for O&M expenses. We established that at the very beginning of this line.
Yes,
Okay, so do we have the potential that we would have collected that money from the customers without your having had to spend it during this fiscal year? Is that a possibility?
no, the plan was originally to commission before the end of the fiscal year, so we'll have to make payments. but based on the current schedule, it's getting started on the fiscal year 27.
Okay,
So
so,
that 1.4 to your case will probably not be needed this year.
okay, that's what I'm establishing. So it's possible that we would have, if the Bureau approves the money that you're asking for, it's possible that the purpose of that money will not have occurred until after the fiscal year. Do we understand each other?
Yes.
Okay. All right, give me a second, look at my notes.
Mr. Hempling, if I
Yes,
may, this
yes.
Commissioner Ramos,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Quinoy. Mr. Quinoy. Here.
Sorry.
You said just now we would have to make a payment. I'm talking about the O&M costs for the batteries. If you would have started
Almost done.
this fiscal year, you would have had to make a payment. So my question is, how do we calculate these O&M costs, and what are O&M costs for batteries?
I would imagine you're wondering the O&M, the O part, and the M part, right? This is more considered like an LTSA. So this is more manufacturer support for the equipment that we're using. We are not expect them to operate the equipment. That's on us, basically our team. And this is a contract for them to support us on the maintenance, troubleshooting, and other things on the equipment per se. It does actually have the contract, if I'm not mistaken, does have clauses also on delivery. So we have an expectation on delivery and results of the equipment, where they get penalized if the equipment does not perform accordingly.
Okay, thank you.
I have a,
So, this Commissioner Mateo, so you mean that this is kind of outsourcing the maintenance of the batteries? Is that right?
It's not exactly outsourcing, it's support from them. It's not out, they're bringing a whole fleet of people to the site. They're just bringing in the necessary support for us to maintain. They have the technical expertise on the equipment, so we use them for that.
Yeah, but then let's clarify it. If they are doing that work, it means your employees are not doing it, or is it that the Genera employees do maintenance for the batteries, but they also have the support under that contract?
We will have our own, if you want to call it, operators on site, which are the Genera employees. This support will be on a need basis. It's not somebody that stays there all the time. This is on a need basis to support us during the contract life term of the support that they give us. So
Okay.
consider it technical expertise, if you want to call it, that they provide us to make sure that the equipment runs
Okay, thank you.
accordingly.
But I'm sorry. So is it a fixed amount per megawatt?
I will need to read the contract to make sure that I can answer that question, or we can probably discuss that on the federal funds. Jesus will be there. He owns that division. He can probably answer that question a little bit better.
And it's a required contract to, I guess, for the warranty to cover? So are they requiring you to have this long-term contract?
Can you see that again, just so I understand the question?
I think the next panel has he will be better suited to answer that. I think Jesus Cintron for the next panel, when it comes to federal funding, he would be the one who's best suited to answer that question when it comes to how they decided to set up the LTSA and the agreements with the batteries.
For the batteries?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I just want to wanted to remind folks again, we're talking about $10 million in a $5 billion rate case and a lot more subjects to cover. Were there any other questions about this subject?
yes, I have a question. In fiscal year 2026, you mentioned you needed 1.5 million for operation and maintenance. So that's going to go away because the batteries aren't commissioned yet. We have no operation maintenance for fiscal year 2026. Is that correct?
Correct. The units, commissioning.
Just a yes or no.
Okay. Yes,
Yes, okay. For fiscal year 2028, you have 4.7 million for operation and maintenance. And you're telling the commissioners that you might need is that a side contract that you're gonna have for technical expertise, or is that part of the 4.7 million?
that's part of that money. That's part of the contract.
Okay, how much of that 4.7 million only goes to Genera's operation and maintenance?
I don't have that information with me right now.
Can we get that information? The 4.7 million, how is it divided? And the premise of my question is, Genera has a $20 million operation and maintenance contract. And the 4.7 million represents 23% of that $20 million contract. So it seems kind of high to have just 430 megawatts of batteries and represents 23% of your total contract.
Just two more follow-up questions. You originally sought 1.5 million for the first year. Now we're saying that you're not going to need that. Is it safe to assume that there have been delays from the original timeline in getting the batteries on island?
I don't think that's a fair statement talking about getting the batteries on island. It's more of getting the approvals to the commission and to start the projects per se. Basically, the decommissioning for Vega Baja and then doing the project, as well as getting the permits to start Aguirre. My apologies, to start Cambalache. So those two are the projects that are currently on their way, and that was basically the delay. They're currently on their way, and they should be in early 26. In 26, they should be delivering the batteries and then doing decommissioning.
Okay, and finally, there is 1.4 for the first year, but then it ramps up to 3.1. Since you're not going to be needing the first O&M, is it safe to assume that the 1.4 will slide over to the second year, or are we assuming the 3.1?
As of right now, the 3.1 based on the expected commissioning dates, it's all fair to change if there's any delay or anything like that on the commissionings. But basically, this was looking at the actual sites that were generating during the contract, right? Or that have been commissioning and generating in the contract.
Is there cross-examination on this topic?
Yes, there is.
Oh,
Good afternoon. For the record, Corey Brady, Lyle Gotcho, and Manji speaking on behalf of the bondholder interveners.
Mr. Brady, this is Commissioner Mateo. Before you start your additional questions,
Mhm.
I keep hearing that Genera is entering into contracts, long-term contracts for the batteries. Are those contracts, can they be assigned to another party? Because I don't know, and if you're not aware, please be aware today, the Bureau hasn't decided if this is a generation asset or not, and who's going to be in charge of it. The fact that Genera is conducting the project doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be continue the operation. So was the contract designed in a manner that allows for the assignment of it if at some point another decision is made? Because this was not in the GOMA either. So
I believe it is. Our contract is with PREPA, as far as I know. So they can be reassigned to whoever.
yeah, but the contracts with the third parties that you're entering, who is signing the contracts? Is it Genera as an agent of PREPA, or is PREPA signing the contracts with Tesla or whoever has been chosen for that technical expertise and support?
Y Genera as an agent of PREPA.
Genera is the one who signed the
Anera, as an agent of PREPA, correct?
The contract includes language for its assignment.
For the record, Ricardo Valles, yes, Tesla contract is already signed and approved by FOMB. So it's as agent of PREPA, always, as an agent of PREPA. And the LTSAs that you mentioned are also as an agent of PREPA.
If you sign the
If
contract.
regarding the second part of the question, if it can be assigned, I don't have the answer right now.
Could you check if that includes that language, which is kind of boilerplate in that type of contract, usually?
Generation asset is decided by the regulatory body. In this case, the Bureau, and we still have not decided that. So, looking at the prices and the line of questioning, we have some doubts about if, I mean, in general terms, nothing against Genera, but if will be Genera or will be Luma the one who better manage the contract. And the reason is that Luma maybe have more batteries and more staff, maybe more equipment to do a better job. I mean, again, nothing against Genera. So, because we have to decide that in the near future, at this moment, we need to know if the contract already signed provides for reassignment. Because if not, we have to do something about it. Please let us.
Attorney Payen, if you sign the contract for the service agreement, then we should know how much that contract is worth. What's the amount of the contract?
Well, the cost of the contract is in the cost that we established at the very beginning of my line of questions. Is that correct?
Talking about the expenditure.
Yeah,
that we have
when
there.
you gave me the summary of the different dollars, that included the cost of the contract. Is that correct?
Correct.
There isn't some other hidden cost we're going to learn about later.
There should not be.
Okay, so the only outstanding question, Council, is reassignment possibilities so that this $10 million doesn't go down the drain if the commissioners make a different decision. Okay?
No, but I want to know how much that contract if you already signed the contract for that long-term service, how much is it? As we said, the 4 million, we don't know how much is operation and maintenance and how much is for that contractor.
Again, Ricardo Valles, yes, they're pretty large contracts, so we will look at them and provide the answer in the term as we asked. There are 200 plus pages each contract, so.
All right, Council, so perhaps come back to me on Monday with a comfortable ETA on all the questions that you have, and we'll work something out. Is that okay, Council? Okay, Mr. Brady, and then when Mr. Brady is done, we'll take our break. Mr. Brady.
For the record, Corey Brady. Good afternoon, Mr. Kinoy. We've been talking about an approximately $10 million number for O&M related to the 430 megawatt battery storage project, right? I'm sorry, I don't think that made it.
Sorry, yes.
And there was also a comment that this is a $10 million line item in a much larger budget. Do you recall that?
Can you say that again?
He's saying this is $10 million and a $5 billion revenue requirement. He's just getting going.
Okay.
Okay, you remember that? Yeah,
Yes.
back to you, Mr. Brady.
The cost of the storage project, aside from the O&M, is $767 million, correct?
Right.
So it actually is quite a large component of the budget, right? Or of the capital project budget, I should say.
Yes, on the federal funds.
Right, it's federally funded. Have you been listening to the testimony of Luma's witnesses over the last week-ish?
I apologize, I have not.
Okay. You understand that the federal funds are finite, right?
Yes.
Okay. Would it surprise you if I said that Luma's witnesses have repeatedly said that the system's needs exceed the finite amount of federal funds?
Can you say that question again?
Just assume for the purposes of the remainder of his questions, assume that Luma has said that the needs of the system exceed the total availability of federal funds. Are you with me?
Okay.
He's asking you to assume that for the next few questions.
Okay.
So you'd agree that just because a project is federally funded doesn't mean we should just kind of brush it aside and not consider it?
Okay.
No, I mean, I'm asking you, do you agree with that?
In what sense? Into the discussion of,
Well, when I asked you about the cost, you said it was federally funded. And I'm asking you, setting aside the source of funds, $767 million is a lot of money,
it's,
right?
it's a lot of money, correct?
Out of a finite amount of money.
Yes.
Excuse me. Just for the record and to be clear, a dollar of public funds should be, let's say that, be carefully invested. Only a dollar. It's not because huge amount, no, a dollar. You should be treated as well as 1,000, a million, $1 billion.
I agree.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I was specifically reacting to a comment that was essentially characterizing the $10 million as insignificant in the course of this case, and I was trying to set the context for this being a much larger project. But thank you. I do agree with that statement. Okay, so I'd like to get some more details about the timeline here. Could we pull up, just to have it ready, Genera Exhibit 24, which is Mr. Quinoy's direct testimony?
Okay.
And while that's coming up, Mr. Quinoy, the original timing expectation for this battery storage project was that it would achieve availability in fiscal years 2025 and 2026, correct? You understand that fiscal year 2025 is over, right?
Yes.
Ended at the end of June, right?
5/26 right now.
Right.
Yeah, that will be fiscal year 26. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Did any of these battery storage projects achieve operation by the end of fiscal year 2025?
No.
Okay. And as you said, we're now in fiscal year 2026, right?
Correct.
About halfway through.
Almost.
And as we sit here today, have any of these battery storage projects achieved commercial operation?
No.
And as you said earlier in response to questioning, you are now projecting that the timeline will slip into calendar year 2026 and early calendar year 2027, right?
Correct.
So significantly later than what was projected previously.
Correct.
Okay, and as was discussed, the $10 million in O&M is broken up across years, right?
Yes.
And it escalates from fiscal year 26 through fiscal year 28, right?
Yes, until the units are commercially available.
And that escalation was based on the units coming online during those periods of time.
That was the engineering team that we have calculating exactly based on the units coming to service, the amount that will be needed.
And now that that timeline has changed, those costs are going to shift out into the future, right?
Most of the cost in 27, which is when most of the units will be achieving commercial operation, it's in there, correct?
And you'd agree with me that if the schedule continues to slip from now into the future in the same way that it already slipped from the past to the present, then that would push those O&M costs out still further, right?
Objection calls for speculation.
You know, he's just asking a sort of a simple, obvious question. I don't know the evidentiary value of it. Right? If things slip, they're going to slip, right?
Correct.
Next question.
Okay, I'd like to ask you a little bit about maintenance because that was discussed. These battery storage projects are essentially large lithium-ion batteries, right?
Yep.
So basically the same kind of battery chemistry that we have in our phones, except it might be lithium phosphate instead of lithium. I'm not sure what the
I'm not an expert.
Okay, but basically that same kind of technology.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not like the lead acid batteries that are in our cars.
No.
Assuming we have gas cars, that is. Lithium-ion batteries are generally a sealed unit, right?
Yes.
You can replace them, but you can't actually open them up and do things inside them, right?
Right.
Or they could catch on fire or explode.
Answer.
Yeah.
So could you help me understand what maintenance are you paying these companies millions of dollars a year for on these batteries if you can't actually work on the battery?
You have the battery, you have the power module, if you want to call it, right? The inverters, as well as the replacement of a battery if it fails, and any troubleshooting in terms of the software or
Commissioner,
electronics
can't
inside
hear.
of the equipment.
We can't hear.
Okay, so basically with the power module, software, boards, etc., the technical part that the OEM is an expert on maintaining.
So software troubleshooting is one of the things, basically.
Yeah, but you need to keep in mind that, and I guess the in the federal funds we can talk. The expert can probably talk a little bit more about your contract, which has other guarantees as well, which is because you're not just talking about maintenance, you're also talking that the vendor that has the contract has some guarantees that they need to submit in terms of the production, the quality, and the response on the equipment as well.
Thank you. Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have more questions then, but I'm just asking you right now. And then another thing you mentioned for the $10 million in maintenance on the batteries that you can't maintain was replacing the batteries if they failed prematurely, right?
Yes.
But as you told Mr. Hempling earlier, there's a warranty on those batteries, right?
There's a contract that has a warranty. A warranty has a set life on it, a year, 18 months. And then after that, that pretty much is the owner responsibility, unless you have a contract that includes that maintenance on that equipment.
Now, in terms of utility scale lithium-ion batteries, unlike the ones in our phone, they actually have a pretty long lifespan, right? About 10 years.
They should, but again, I'm not the expert.
Yeah.
Somebody else can probably answer that question better than I can in the federal panel.
Has to do with the number of charge-discharge cycles generally, and how
Fast discharge, fast charge, etc.
How fast you discharge them, how deep you discharge them, right? But they last a lot longer than the kind of batteries we're used to in consumer electronics, right?
They should.
And they're in fact designed over capacity so that as they age, they'll still be able to achieve a significant percentage of their original capacity, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, so the kinds of failures that you were talking about in the first 18 months or so, those are pretty unlikely, right?
I would imagine they're unlikely.
Okay, so really you're paying $10 million in maintenance costs for software tech support, the option to have batteries replaced that probably aren't going to break and that would be covered under warranty anyways. And what was the other piece?
I think it's better if somebody on the federal funds panel can probably answer all your questions and give you all the line items inside the contract, because you're making me speculate on what's on the contract.
That's fine. That's all I had.
Any redirect?
No redirect.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Brady, for those questions. Colleagues, why don't we take a break? It's 3:35. We'll come back at 3:50, 10 minutes to 4. Thank you. including myself, are going about twice to 2.5 times, sometimes to 4 times that speed. You add to that the technical language, the acronyms, and a little bit of nervousness that goes in with all of us when we're talking under stress. And I'm shocked that they haven't broken through that glass and come in and strangled me already. So that's the humorous part. But the important part is that if we don't get a record, we're going to have trouble when we write our briefs, when we get to the Court of Appeals. I know myself, to change a lifetime of speaking habit, to slow down like this is extraordinarily hard, but every one of us, and we just need to be a lot more careful. We cannot go at this pace for the next 6 weeks. Now, this is the guy that's saying we got to hurry up and stay on schedule, but we don't have to do it by talking faster. By the way, today I have to leave personally for a teaching engagement, so we're going to stop at 5:30. And I don't want to keep us till 6:30 like we did last night. That's real stressful for everybody who has to do homework for the next day. So I'll do better and promise to get us out sooner. But today it's going to be 5:30. And with that, I'll turn it over to my excellent colleague, Mr. Sosa, who will talk about deployment of flexible generation peakers. And then we'll go to hydro facilities. And we will do our best to get through Black Start by the end of today, and we'll see where we stand. Thank you, Mr. Sosa.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, again. So for the topic of generation peakers, under evaluation, we are evaluating approximately $14 million in fiscal year 27, fiscal year 28 O&M. So let's turn to Exhibit 83, please. Quinoy.
Sorry, can we have it displayed? Okay.
Thank you. Page 3, please. And I quote, you mentioned that the structure for the peakers is not an O&M. You clarified that this is an LTSA that is already executed with manufacturers. Can you discuss this LTSA agreement?
Okay, this agreement is not signed yet for the peakers.
Okay, so when you mention already executed with the manufacturers,
Which one?
Page 3, we're on page 7.
Can you show page 3?
okay.
That's not it either. I think it's the real page. You're talking about the real page 3 on the number on the page, right?
Yeah.
So it's probably a couple more down. No, probably you want to go up. I don't know. We're in page 3. Would you like?
So yeah, it's page 2. I apologize. Or
Okay, these are the. So you're talking about the TMs in this case.
yes, correct.
Okay, I thought you were talking about the peakers, the other project that we have for peakers. I apologize. So, can you ask the question again so I understand?
Absolutely. So you mentioned that these agreements are already executed with the manufacturers. Can you discuss what availability guarantees you included in these agreements?
Can you give me 1 second to read it? Yeah, this is a mix. Should be a LM 2500. I will need to read it. It's STM, but if it reports to the temporary generation will be TMs if it's for the peakers. Can you give me 1 second so we can read the question well?
Please take
And
your
where
time.
it comes from, just to make sure. I think 2 more minutes so we can finalize it. The thing is that the summary that is here has 3 different projects together. So I need to understand the point of view that he's asking towards the 3 points that uh, Engineer Justo is saying on his paragraph. Mr. Justo Gonzalez on his document says, I recommend rejecting the proposal 1M budgets for the new utility scale battery storage and flexible generation peakers. Those flexible generations, we understood he was talking about the new peakers that were being installed, and we were making reference that those peakers as well, the contract will not be an O1M contract, it will be a LTSA, which is a long-term service agreement for parts and services.
Thank you. So can you explain on that same exhibit where you say that 8 peaker units will substitute 4 operational peaker units and 4 non-operational peaker units?
I believe the response is just because of the sites where they're gonna go, where they're gonna represent. So you're talking Daguao, Yabucoa, Hobos, and Costa Sur. The two that go into Costa Sur, the current pickers in Costa Sur are not working. So that's a substitution as well with the other 3 sites. The total is bringing in 8 versus 4 between those sites.
Okay, so you're saying that 4 in Costa Sur are operational?
No, what I'm saying is the total of all those sites. Basically, you have 4 that are operational, which is Hobos, Daguao, and Yabucoa. You have a total of 4 operating units. And between those sites and Costa Sur, where we're installing the new ones, we're installing 8.
Okay, and of these units, which ones are aeroderivative units and which ones are frame 5?
The frame 5s are the old ones, the ones that are being replaced. And all sites, all those sites have frame 5s. So the 8s that we're talking about are the old technology GE frame 5 units. The installation of the units is 6 GE Aero units LM2500s Those will be going into Yabucoa, Davao, and Hobos, and two Siemens, I believe it's GTA hundreds, and those two would be going into Costa Sur. Those are bigger units, 50 megawatts each.
Thank you. And you mentioned some are non-operational. How long have they been non-operational?
I can probably relate that.
So out of the four sites that he's talking about, Yabucoa, Daguao, Hobos, and Costa Sur, each of those sites have two units. Out of those units, I give you a number. If I'm not mistaken, Hobos has one, Yabucoa has one, Costa Sur has none working. So we have two, maybe three, depending on if it's in or out, that they're coming in. Right. So those are the units right now that we're planning on installing this new peaker units on those sites.
Okay, so if I understand what you're telling me is that they have been on and off, non-operational, so it's intermittent. It's not that like the case of San Juan 8 that it's been a very long time non-operational. Is it more of an intermittent?
It's an
condition?
intermittent. Yeah, those units. Yeah, it's depends because of the age of those units and the maintenance. There's really was no maintenance allocated to those units to really keep them up and running. Right. So some of those units we had to take from this one to replace parts and so forth to get them to go. So when it came for the new units, it was more prudent to say, hey, if we're going to put new units, just put them in the same footprint that we currently have for these units that are not operational.
Okay, so but by saying that they are intermittent, does that mean that you are deploying resources of O&M to get them back online?
We're deploying the minimum possible resources that we need, that if we could deploy with whatever funding we have to try to get them to work. If not, we just leave them as is.
Okay, and can you describe the difference of maintenance between those frame units versus the aeroderivative units that are being deployed?
You have a good number for those?
Yeah, the old units were what you call heavy duty gas turbines. They're more of a frame generated just for power generation by itself. The aeroderivatives are more, if you want to call it, delicate, sophisticated engines that, of course, are used for running airplanes, where we actually have modified those to generate electricity.
So in simple terms, what's more costly to maintain or what's more complicated to maintain?
It depends, because you need to see what you can get for 25 megawatts today. That is not an aeroderivative in the market. So maintaining the old equipment probably is expensive because it's older units. Some of the parts are obsolete. Vendors, in some instances, it's difficult to get them. Again, we're talking about over 50-year-old units, right? And for the aeroderivatives, there are more specified maintenance procedures, if you want to call it. You got the power turbine, you got the engine itself, right? So the maintenance on those, as operated with, if they're operated with a natural gas, the length of the intervals on the maintenance on this unit is quite long, and they tend to be more effective as well as fast response. You have units that they call pickers for that reason. They need to come back into the system on a peak, on a necessity, and they have to be fast. And they're pretty good at that.
And you mentioned if they're run, you explained that distinction. Is it a certainty or what are they running on?
Well, as required, they were required with two fuels, so it's diesel and gas. And it depends on the dispatch that you give them. If you run them on diesel, you erode the components, so all the hot gas path equipment actually gets eroded and or consumed faster. So your intervals between maintenance will be decreased. And by decreasing them, then you incur more costs. If you run them in gas, the length of time between maintenance increases.
Thank you. And let's,
Rafael, this is Commissioner Torres. I just want to know where we're going on this, the purpose of this, if I may.
absolutely, let's turn to 22.3 ref. I believe we're calling it 8887, but there's been comment on the admission of that exhibit 887, 22.3. Let's go to D1 optimal. We see on line 47, you have 0 for FY 25-26.
Sorry, excuse me, 247, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Coordination study.
New peakers, new PK O&M, that's D1 optimal.
I have that on 246.
Not the Excel. He'll be referring not to the Excel line item, but to the schedule line item.
You propose 4.2 million for FY 27 and 9.7 for 2028. Is that correct?
Yes.
Can you walk us through what specific maintenance activities and cost drivers are accounting for these quantities?
Our engineering team was performing an estimate based on future contracts, LTSAs, with Siemens for the GTA 100, and more than likely with General Electric for the LMs. So we were looking at actually negotiating contracts with both of the companies for long-term service agreements that would include parts, services, and the required equipment that is needed for maintaining the equipment, well, the parts. Only the required support for that, not people. We will have to use our team that we have for the existing pickers to maintain on a daily basis and everything the equipment. So we will not be seeking for additional maintenance, if you want to call it. It would be more technical support and specific expertise to the repairs and the parts needed for the maintenance of the picker units.
So we're in the same situation as the 430K megawatt BESS projects. And it's going to be a hybrid between Genera providing maintenance, but you're also going to have another company provide long-term services agreement.
Correct. There's several things why an LTSA, and even Mr. Justo Gonzalez on his expert report mentions for Cambalache to consider LTSAs. LTSAs tend to be good contracts and agreements with, just as you mentioned, Mr. Hempel, with the OEMs, because they can support, they have the technical expertise, and they have already the line of sight of the parts needed when they're needed, and they can guarantee the operation of the units accordingly, right? And they can give you a warranty of the unit actually is running as specified, is performing, is giving you the right rating, is giving you the right availability, right? And those are the things that we're looking to make sure that we maintain the new equipment as per manufacturer expectations.
Thank you, Mr. Kinoy. And what I'm trying to understand is that you mentioned that these existing 4 units were intermittent. Your Mr. Scott was so they are on and off. We're replacing them. How is it that we are receiving a request for incremental funding?
Yeah, I can say that. If you look at, go up a little bit, and if you go to the original lines, the 238, 239, go further up a little bit on the same file, please. Okay, so there, pickers. If you look at the requests that we have for pickers, these are for the mobile packs, which are the Pratt & Whitney or Mitsubishi units. If you see, there's no expenses on the, except for just the combustion inspections, nothing else for the installed fleet of the peakers. Reason behind that is that we want to make sure that the ratepayers don't pay above. If we're going to decommission that equipment, we don't want to keep spare parts on those. That would be bad on our part if we keep a whole bunch of spare parts that we're not going to use. So the prudent thing was to reduce the budget on those speakers to just the bare minimum so that we can maintain them running until we can decommission them. So we were not actually adding above plan. We reduced the peakers, the existing peakers budget so that we don't have to pay additional from the ratepayers on equipment that will be decommissioned.
Thank you. And if I can turn to Ingeniero Justo González. En su reporte experto, usted recomienda no incluir gastos incrementales. Habiendo escuchado lo que presenta y lo que ha estudiado, ¿usted se sostiene en su recomendación o qué impresión tiene que quiera compartir en este panel?
Ok, por lo que yo estuve. Sí, Justo González para récord. Sí, por lo que estuve escuchando, va a ser a través de Loan Service Term Agreement. O sea, ahí conllevaría a evaluar de nuevo. ¿Verdad? No teníamos cierta información relacionada al tipo de turbina que se iba a utilizar. Si son aeroderivadas, como tal, ¿verdad? Pues comparando con la anterior que tenía. Sí, entendemos la TM2500 son todas aeroderivadas y también van a estar cubiertas con Long Term Service Agreement, ¿correcto? Según yo entendí, entonces que son para las 14 unidades. Yo calculé, basado en benchmark de la industria, los costos, y el valor lo tomé por las dos consideraciones. Y dije, y pensándolo, basado en los benchmarks y distintos tipos de máquinas, ¿verdad? Pero viendo la TM2500G, si es 17 unidades, está económico la cantidad que se está solicitando. Es baja la cantidad. Si son 14, están dentro del rango. Puede estar corriendo por cada unidad de 900,000 a 1.2 millones de dólares. O sea que en términos de lo que son las TM2500, lo que están solicitando, yo estaría de acuerdo, ¿verdad? Con eso que está ahí, fue lo que yo planteé. En términos de las speaker unit como tal, se levantó una información nueva aquí. O sea, en términos de lo que es el tipo de unidad que iba a ser, pues sabíamos que había unos RISE que eran posiblemente con Warshila. Me corrigen, son motores de combustión interna, robustos, fuertes, los conocemos. Sí, y entonces si va a ser a través del Long Term Service Agreement, pues lleva unos costos. Lo que hay que llevar es el término de costo de mantenimiento que llevaban en promedio de gastos con las unidades viejas versus el costo del LTSA. Recomiendo el LTSA en estos sentidos porque garantiza un mantenimiento time-based, a base de tiempo, lo que llamábamos un mantenimiento desde predictivo, preventivo y, ¿verdad? Y minimizando lo que es correctivo. Por eso es que hago la salvedad en el caso también de Cambalache. Y concuerdo, ¿verdad? Le voy a mencionar que vi informes de Sargent and Lundy, que yo no concluyo con ellos, pero me brindaron información porque levantaron información de campo. Y donde estaban LTSA operando, eran donde mejor estaban las unidades. Y ponía de ejemplo las unidades 5 y 6 de San Juan, y ponían también las unidades de Cambalache en el momento que estaban bajo el Long Term Service Agreement. Con esa información hay que evaluar esos costos. Yo recomendaría, grupo, ¿verdad?, de Genera, si puedo hacer la recomendación, de que ellos hagan el análisis y presenten esos números finales en términos de los costos que están incurriendo en promedio de las reparaciones de las unidades existentes que van camino, ¿verdad?, a la que están básicamente, ¿verdad?, camino a obsolescencia, versus el LTSA para las nuevas unidades. Entiendo que son unidades de 25 megavatios, conjuntos de 2 unidades de 25 megavatios para hacer 50. Entonces, esa es mi recomendación para evaluar eso pronto, lo más pronto posible.
And my question are, these new peakers, are these the 260? Are these the 268 megawatt peakers that we approved, that federally funded? Is that what we're talking about as new peakers? Is that it?
I believe you're correct. It's 250 megawatts in Costa Sur and 625 approximately
All
megawatts.
rice units.
No, there are heavy duty and aeroderivative turbines. They're turbines.
Okay, not. Okay, so then for those units that we already approved that are federally funded, you're saying you need a maintenance of 4.2 million? Or, and then it goes up to 9 point something million? 9.7 million? I'm on line item 246.
Yeah, you're correct. And that's based on assumptions and engineering that was done on expected cost of long-term service agreements with Siemens and with GE.
Well, I have
For
the
that.
same question as I had with the BES. How much of those 9 million is the contract that you're gonna have for a long-term service agreement? And how much is actually Genera's employees?
No, Genera's employees are already under our labor workforce, which are what we just call the maintenance and operators team for the peakers, which are distributed across Puerto Rico on the different sites. We're gonna keep the same workforce to do the regular maintenance on the units. So we're not adding that additional cost for that.
So the 9 million is total for the long-term service agreement?
Long-term service agreements for parts and services for the equipment.
Is that what, Justo González, eso es lo que usted está diciendo que se ve, su recomendación es excesivo, es normal, hay que ver algo, hay que pedir información?
Sí. Sí, Justo González para récord. Recomiendo que brinden la información. Pues se está hablando ya de unidades de 50 megavatios, aeroderivadas de 50 megavatios. La TM 2500 que tenemos en el área de San Juan, Palo Seco, son TM 2500 de 25 megavatios. Sí, aquí estamos hablando ya de unidades mayores. O sea, yo creo que debe brindarse la información, ¿verdad? Y hacerle el análisis de costos. Y como mencioné, compararlo con los gastos y todos los costos envueltos, tanto de materiales como de mano de obra en las reparaciones de las unidades existentes que van a ser eliminadas. Ver esa diferencia, ver ese neto, pues yo creo que cambió el panorama con esta información que se supe hoy.
¿Genera sabe cuánto gastaban en operación o cuánto separaban? Porque yo sé que eso es parte de los 20 millones del fee de ustedes. ¿Cuánto separaban para esa unidades pico que simplemente están reemplazando con esta unidad pico?
Perdón, ¿puedes repetir la pregunta?
¿Cuál era el presupuesto que tenía Genera para operar y mantener esa unidad de speakers que estamos reemplazando ahora? Que están dentro de los 20, dentro del goma de ustedes.
No lo tengo. Oh, yes. I don't have that with me right now.
¿Cuántos pickers son nuevos? 7.
Okay. Que son
5
8.
y 2.
Son 6 y 2.
6 y 2. Y vienen a reemplazar 8 viejos.
8 viejos, pero 4 que solamente están operacionales.
De los 8, solamente 4 estaban en operaciones. Ok. O sea que estamos duplicando el número de pickers, pero estos pickers son nuevos. Entonces, si hacemos un análisis así, superficial, lo que era el mantenimiento, la operación y el contrato de piezas de los 4 viejos, vis a vis, el contrato de operación, mantenimiento y piezas nuevas, el resultado es que es 9 millones más caro el nuevo. O sea, se están pidiendo 9 millones adicionales. ¿Cuánto están pidiendo?
Okay, entiendo su pregunta. No, la matemática no.
Pues
Okay. For the record, Joaquin Quinoy, VP of Engineering, Construction, and Maintenance. The response to your question is no, that's not the net. Because what we did on this budget was to remove everything that was almost everything of the cost that was supposed to be done on the peakers. So no major inspections. Those inspections are $3 to $4 million. No inspections on the old peakers. Nothing. We have not dedicated anything. We've stretched those units because they're going to get decommissioned. So we don't want to spend the ratepayers' money on buying equipment that is going to go to waste a year from now.
Yeah.
So the focus on this is you have a new line for the new peakers, but the old peakers basically just get the bare minimum necessary so that we can decommission them to the stretching point of only doing combustion inspections, no hot gas passes, no majors, just maintaining the bare minimum so that we can decommission and you don't spend the ratepayers' money on that one.
Are you saying that doing that, still you need how much additional money?
It's not additional. The 9 million is on that one.
You don't have budgeted the new maintenance and operation and new parts for the new peakers. Is that what you asked?
If we would have asked for money to replace or repair the peaker base that you have right now, it would have been in the tens of millions of dollars that we're not going to invest. One unit alone, a major inspection is about $4 million. One unit alone. So if we're talking about 4 units, that gives you 14 million.
I will ask in ROI or whatever. So move. Sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Quinoy. You mentioned that these new units run on LNG.
These units were specified to operate in 2 fuels, and the 2 fuels that you operate is gas and diesel, both.
Can we turn to Exhibit 481, or perhaps we don't need to pull it up. You just, I will say what you said, and then you tell me if you need to refresh your memory. But regarding LNG supply shortfall impacts, what contingency plans exist for peaker units operating during natural gas supply disruptions? And what are the associated cost implications of that?
Can you show me where I put that information?
You were speaking of contingency plans for, that's Exhibit 481. Page 6, please.
Can you go down, see who attested for this testimony, please?
God.
It's Mr. Scoot.
It's good, right? Okay, so yeah, I just wanted to make sure, sorry.
If there's a disruption of natural gas supply.
Oh, the contingency that we currently have right now that we proposed in one of the budgets is renting tanks and Corco to hold more diesel fuel if we needed it.
And is this reflected on your fuel security mitigation plan?
Fuel security mitigation plan. I'm not familiar with the fuel security.
No, this is part of a requirement on another proceeding.
Are you familiar with this plan?
No, I'm not.
Okay. Can you tell us anything about what your contingencies are, other than what you just said about the fuel tanks with respect to a fuel supply disruption? Anything else that you have to yell?
Yeah, no, if it's a natural gas fuel supply, we currently, our tanks are currently at capacity. We ensure that we keep our supply anywhere between 90 to 100% full all the time. And if we know we're going to have a short supply, we inform the suppliers, hey, look, we may have a shortfall of natural gas. We're going to have to start ramping up on our bunker or on diesel fuel, right? Part of an added contingency plan is to say, okay, hey, look, if we need more tank space, maybe we could just rent some tank spaces in the interim until we could get over whatever shortfall we have.
Thank you. That concludes my questions.
I want to go back to where we left off with the chairman. Your fee, how much is in the $20 million fee? How much is there for maintenance of the existing peakers?
Can you please specify what $20 million, just to make sure what you're,
The Goma, I believe it's for 20 million. The fee for operation and maintenance, am I mistaken? The fixed fee. Am I mistaken? I know that's their money, but the purpose of that money is to operate and maintain all the legacy assets. And the peakers are part of those legacy assets, and part of the contract, when we start decommissioning legacy assets, there's a percentage that gets reduced from that fee. So what I'm saying, I know we're not decommissioning these peakers, but they should be an amount of those 20 million to maintain, operate the existing peakers. So we're bringing new peakers. So and you're saying the new peakers are going to be totally subcontracted. So that's almost like decommissioning. So
we did not say that we're going to be subcontracted. We're keeping the operational maintenance team on the sites to operate and maintain the daily activities.
okay.
The contracts are LTSA, so they're long-term service agreements. They're only focused on you ensuring that your vendor has the time allotted for your maintenance. They can actually keep good inventory for you. They can even sometimes guarantee inventory in case of an emergency, and a response time. So you make sure that you are capable of maintaining the units with, if you want to call it an E4 or an availability factor, pretty high.
So Genera is going to keep on operating and maintaining those new units, the new peaker units, and they're also going to spend 9 million to subcontract the long-term agreement with another party.
Yeah.
How much do you have an LTSA contract for the existing peaker units that you're operating and maintaining?
No, we do not.
And what's the difference of those speakers and these speakers that you need 9 million and before you didn't need that?
Well, there's several things. One is the availability of parts. So you're buying this, for example, the Siemens units. It's almost impossible for you to go to a different vendor. This is a new technology that is maintained by them. With this, you can guarantee a fixed price, an amount of response time from them if you have an emergency. Otherwise, they will treat you as any other customer. If you have a force outage, it could take longer. So LTSAs kind of encompass, and just like Mr. Gonzalez said before in his testimony, this encompasses a contract that it's better for the owner of the equipment to maintain, to have the right response, and to do the outages in a shorter term as well.
Okay, you're the expert. I just would think that newer units would be that this rate case is about than older units that are breaking down and you have an LTSA.
I agree with you. But usually the way LTSAs work is that over the lifespan of your contract, you have milestone payments or payments that you do throughout the contract. So when you have to do the major, you don't need to spend $20 million. You spend them over the life of the contract with the payments that you have done.
Okay, this question is from Attorney Payens, if I may. Have you signed the LTSA agreement for these peaker units as well?
Good afternoon, Ricardo Payens. No, I haven't. I haven't signed any contract. I'm not the person who signs the contract.
Oh, well, but you did have for the 430 megawatt BESS contracts.
Well, I know of them. I've read them. I've seen them. But in terms of the LTSA of the peakers, I'm not sure if they are already signed.
They are in negotiations with us vendors to approach with contracts and options, etc., but no contracts.
Scott Hempling, I would like to ask the Genera to file those contracts as soon as possible, or if there's a draft under confidentiality, to also file them with the Energy Bureau, so our consultants could tell us if the 4 million and the 9 million are reasonable or not for the people of Puerto Rico to pay that.
But just to be on record, we don't have a contract right now. We're just
I know
asking
you don't
for them,
have a
and we're
contract.
estimating that amount, but there's no contract. But we'll
there
see
should
what
be
we have.
something that you reached for LTSA. You need 4 million next year and 9 million for 2028. If there's a draft or something that you could file under confidentiality.
Yeah, if it's contracts that are still under negotiation, we can't provide that information. We'll meet and see where the funding, the cost came about, and we'll provide that information.
But I think we need your agreement not to sign that contract until not to commit ratepayers to paying for a contract until the 5 commissioners have seen the contract.
Until you have the approval for us for the funding of those contracts to commence with. And that includes the 430 megawatt LTSA as well. We haven't approved the ratepayers to pay that amount, those contracts. So the sooner that you get it to the Energy Bureau, the quicker we could provide the funds or the ratepayers to pay for it.
We'll verify what we have and get back to the Energy Bureau.
Yeah, and just so you know, you can send us negotiated documents or pre-negotiated documents under confidentiality. So,
I just don't have the information right now, so I can commit, but I do commit to verify where we are with that and inform the Energy Bureau.
okay, thank you.
Yes.
We're gonna take, let's see, we're at give me one second. What time did we start? 2:40? 2:40. Well, that was our break though. Yeah, we took our afternoon. Okay, give us 5 minutes, please. to restate, it's the view of the commissioners in general that there should be opportunity for the commissioners to review a contract before a signature goes on it if that signature is going to result in the customers having to pay money. That's a general principle that, as the commissioner's view, is a legal indisputable as a matter of law. But in this particular context, simply what we're asking for in two contexts. One is the LTSAs that we've just been discussing with respect to these peakers, and the other is to go back to the battery energy storage systems context. And so what we're asking for is the opportunity to seek, we're not asking, what we're requiring is the opportunity for the commissioners and its consultants to look at some contract draft in some form before a signature goes on it that commits Genera to paying funds. That's a requirement that I'm imposing. You are welcome, if you think about it overnight, to come back with, when you have a legal right to argue with me about it. But for now, I simply wanted to pass on that message. Are we being clear? All right. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah, we would ask for the opportunity to discuss this because obviously Genera enters into many types of professional contracts, and they don't have to come to the Energy Bureau for all those contracts. And that is the position of apply. I'm not saying we're not willing to cooperate on these two contracts, but it just opens the door to come to the Energy Bureau for every single contract. And we just want to be clear that we are not.
Mr. Hamlin, that's not the, this is Commissioner Mateo, that's not the idea. The rationale behind this requirement is that you're asking for money and we do not know exactly for what that money is going to be used, because it's very easy to say it's a maintenance contract. Is that employee gonna make repairs? That contractor gonna make repairs? Is it only change oil or what? We need to have an idea, and that only comes out of a contract describing the obligations that that contractor is assuming under the contract. Otherwise, we are blindsided and only are given an amount of money without any information. If you had put that into your petition, we wouldn't be asking for it.
We don't want to micromanage, and what we do approve budgets, and we do approve. We don't approve specific contracts. Like you have a legal budget for hiring attorneys, and we approve it, and you hire whoever you want, and spend reasonably. But this is money that you're asking the ratepayers specifically, that you need these 9 million and 5 million for these purposes. And in the hearing, we have heard this, information that we don't feel comfortable in. That's the right amount. That should be. You could sign the contract with whoever you want. We're not getting into that. But until we approve the budget, we need to look at these contracts. If you want us to approve that budget.
Just so we can avoid a larger, no, I can hold. Yes, sir. Please go right ahead. Have your conversation. Mr. Hempley. One second. Yeah. Just so we can separate the issues. We can probably leave for another day the epic battle over how far this goes. Just focusing on these two sets of contracts for now. See what you can do and report back. But what you're hearing is a directive to do it. And if you choose not to, you'll come back with an answer, yes or no. But let's not have the whole battle about all contracts at this moment, because I'm very sympathetic personally about what you're saying. They don't want to get involved in every tiny contract. Commissioner Ramos, you had a comment, sir?
Yeah, I would like to take the opportunity to add a third
category
to that petition, and it'll be actually they're all identified as O&M on that exhibit. So it's O&M temporary power, O&M BESS, and O&M new peakers. The same thing for those three line items.
I just want to make a distinction between those that are already in place and the ones that are still under negotiation. For the ones that are still in negotiation, we can be willing to give a detail of the scope and what it entails. But obviously, it's not a contract that's in its final form. So we can further talk about that, but it's that one in particular that it's still subject to deliberations and negotiations.
Okay.
Okay,
Here's-
can I?
Go ahead,
Yes.
sir. Yes, sir.
You want us to approve a budget for something. And there's different way for you to prove us that the investment is prudent. And we think that the best way to prove that is a contract. Maybe a process of negotiation of a contract. There's different way. You have alternative. Maybe you can, we need something from you that prove that the cost that you asking for is prudent. That's all.
Understood.
So what I'll promise is that overnight, just so you can save a little bit of work on your part, we will write up precisely what we're asking for. And I'll ask Mr. Sosa to get with you to make sure you have that document, if people won't mind that off the record conversation. And then you'll find out from your client whether we have an epic battle or whether we have some means of informing the Bureau before they make decisions about the dollars. Does that work for you, ma'am?
It does.
All right, thank you so much. Let me check with my colleague about where we stand on the questioning on this topic. Okay, well, we are finished with our questions, which mean it's time for cross-examination on the subject of the deployment of the flexible generation, i.e. the peakers. Mr. Brady, welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Hempling. For the record, Corey Brady, Weil, Gotchel, and Manji speaking on behalf of the bondholder interveners. I think I'll mostly be speaking to you, Mr. Quinoy. And if the clerk wants to just pull up NEPR Exhibit 24 to save time, that would be helpful.
Exhibit 24, please.
So,
That-
go ahead.
That is Mr. Quinoy's original testimony.
Yes, his direct.
By the way, if I could ask all, we haven't been doing this, but it'll help when we're reading the transcripts several thousand pages later. When we cite the exhibit, if it's testimony, say what it is. If it's so-and-so's testimony, sir, rebuttal, answering. Thank you, Mr. Brady. I think it's up on the screen now, sir.
Thank you. And can we go to page 21? And I'd like to ask you about the difference between this Peakers project as it was originally envisioned and as it is now, and get some specifics. Okay, so do you see this item 88 question on the screen?
Yes.
And that is restating a question that the Energy Bureau asked you back in spring of this year, right? The part in bold.
Correct.
Okay, and then your answer is below that, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. And so in the Energy Bureau's question, the original scope of the Peakers project was 5 GTGs at 50 megawatts each. And what is a GTG?
Gas turbine generator.
Okay.
Gas turbine generator.
And then next was 8 RICE generators at 18 megawatts each. And what does RICE stand for?
It's reciprocating engines, basically generators.
So basically a different kind of turbine.
Not a turbine, just a regular motor, if you want to call it. Yeah.
Okay, so more like a car motor, large truck motor.
Very big one.
Yeah. Okay. And so the total of all those projects, if you multiply them and add them, is about 400 megawatts of generation capacity, right? As originally envisioned.
Correct. 5 CTGs and 80 megawatts, correct?
Yeah, so about 400 total across both types.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then as it says there in your answer, a federally funded cost of approximately $800 million as originally envisioned, right?
Correct.
Okay, but now flipping down to your answer, you have a clarification on what the scope of the project is now, right?
Correct.
And now the scope of the project is 2 CTGs at 50 megawatts each. And what is a CTG?
Combustion turbine generator or gas turbine generators is the same thing.
Okay. And then 6 CTGs, same thing, at 24 megawatts each, right?
Correct.
And if you do the math there, you're welcome to do it, but I'll represent that it's about 244 megawatts total.
Correct.
Okay, so it's about a 40% reduction in the total capacity of that project as compared to the original scope, as reflected in the Bureau's question, right?
Yes.
Was there a commensurate 40% reduction in the federally funded cost of that project, given the reduction in scope?
No.
In fact, the total federally funded cost of that reduced scope project is now more than the 800 million referenced in the Energy Bureau's question, isn't it?
We need to look at the numbers, but I believe
Yeah, that's
with
fine.
installation, yes.
Okay, so could we pull up bondholder exhibit 893, 893? And for the record, this is Genera's response to ROI NPFGC of Genera, Gen 38.
Exhibit 893.
And we're going to be going to page 2 of that once you can pull it up.
I'm sorry, I stepped out for a moment. Saying that line item 10, microphone. Line item 10, page 21, you have a you have a clarification of the configuration. Is that the actual configuration as it states? Because it's a different configuration for me now.
2 gas turbines in Costa Sur for 50 megawatts each. And then the remainder of the gas turbines to Daguao, Hobos, Yabucoa.
Now, we approved 268. We increased an approval of 268. This adds to 244.
Correct.
So am I mistaken?
The nameplate, if it will be different, the nameplate on the unit size so is higher, but the actual expected generation here is about that.
Okay. I just want to say it's 268, the last approval of, it's not 244.
Okay, so thank you for that clarification, Commissioner Torres. So the nameplate capacity is 268 on this set of units?
I will need to check it, yes, but ISO conditions, usually nameplate on the turbines is ISO conditions. It depends how much they generate in the island based on temperature, humidity, etc.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I think you're not quite getting into the microphone. I'm having trouble.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so yeah, ISO conditions are one thing. The actual generation of the unit depends on temperature, humidity, altitude, etc. of the actual output of the turbine.
Okay, so you're projecting that you're going to be able to run them at 244 out of 268 approximately. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, yeah.
Okay, do we have that page 2 now up on the screen? Okay, yes. Do you recognize this ROI response, Mr. Quinoy?
Yes.
Okay, and this is referring to the federally funded amount for the speakers project we've been discussing, right?
Correct.
Okay, and so then the total there is approximately strike that. The total there is approximately $861 million, right?
Yes.
Okay, so just so the record is clear, the federal cost of this project is now $62 million more for 39% less total generation capacity than originally planned.
Yes.
And it's also fewer total units than originally planned, right?
Yes.
Now, I'd like to talk about the timing for the speaker project. The original timing to have these units in operation for Costa Sur and Yabucoa was December 2025, right?
Can you repeat that again?
Sure. So the original timeline to have the Costa Sur and Yabucoa units online was December of this year, right?
I will need to check what the original number was at the beginning.
Okay, so could we pull up bondholder exhibit 892? That's 892. And while she's pulling that up, this is an Energy Bureau order dated September 17th, 2024, titled Resolution and Order Pertaining to Order to Show Cause, issued on August 28, 2024, in case number NEPR-MI 2022-0005.
I'm not seeing that on the screen.
Yes. Is the clerk working on that, or should I repeat the number again?
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think it's up yet. It's bondholder exhibit 892. Oh, okay, yeah. And it would be page 2.
Page 2.
Okay.
Sorry, I can't read that fast. Can you go back?
Or no, actually, it would be back to page 1. I apologize. This actually appears to be a bad reference I had in my outline. So, yeah, I'll come back to this later so that we don't waste any time.
I just want to suggest, I'm not trying to get in the way of the cross-examination, but if all we're doing is asking a witness to attest to something that's already going to be in evidence because I've admitted it, it's if one wants to explore a contradiction, that certainly makes sense. But I'm wondering about, if we're looking to save some time, one way to do it would be not to use cross to establish things that the witness can't argue with because it's already in the record. Just a suggestion for tomorrow and the future days. Next question, please, Mr. Brady.
Okay, so do you know the timeline by which these speakers were supposed to be deployed originally?
I don't have it with
Object
me
to
right
this
now.
question, this exhibit, the person attesting to the exhibit is Mr. Ricardo Payens, not Mr. Quinoy.
It's okay. He's asked a
It's the
question.
wrong,
He
the
asked
wrong
a question.
exhibit.
He asked a question about whether the witness knows. He's allowed to ask that. If the witness knows, he can answer.
I don't have it in front of me, so I don't know what the original dates were.
Okay, thank you. Oh, I think I see the issue, actually. Could you scroll down in this document? It appears to be a much longer document.
Where would you like the scrolling to end?
Give me a minute. Okay, page 12.
Again, we object to this line of questioning. This exhibit was not attested by Mr. Quinoy or Mr. Scoot.
Let's see if he knows the answer to the question, or we can ask Mr. Payens. Again, If it's just a matter of establishing what's going to be in the record.
Yeah, it's okay. I'll move on. I'll move
All
on.
right, just go ahead, sir.
Do you know whether LUMA has authorized the decommissioning of the existing peaker units, the frame fives?
Yeah, we, if I'm not mistaken, we had a meeting.
Oh, sorry, I don't think you.
Sorry, yeah, as Vladimir for the record, if I'm not mistaken, it was last week, the week before last, we had a conditional decommissioning based off of the schedule that we currently provided for the batteries. We had to push it out a month. One, they want to see megawatt for megawatt.
Okay, and do you need to decommission the frame fives so that you can then use that site for the new peakers?
That's correct.
And when you say push it out a month, do you mean push out the decommissioning a month or the planning with LUMA?
No, the decommissioning. The schedule we proposed to them, they finally agreed to a schedule based off of how your units are currently operating. So we proposed them a schedule. That schedule pushed it out 1 month.
And do you recall discussing the O&M cost earlier with respect to this peaker project?
No, I don't.
I'm sorry, I meant Mr. Kinoy.
Yes.
And so to the extent that the peakers are delayed, similar to the battery project, then that would also delay the O&M costs, right?
Yeah, and like we said, that's something that we still are work in progress, the acquiring of the LTSA. So it's still, this was a number, a reference number done by our engineering team, but the final number is still pending commissioning and the actual negotiation.
The new peakers are aero units, right?
You could say that the Siemens are a little bit of a hybrid between heavy duty and aero, but the GE ones are aero.
They're basically like jet engines, right?
Yes, sir.
And those burn cleaner than the old frame fives, right?
Yes.
And a cleaner burning engine generally has less fouling in it, right, from the combusted fuel?
Yes.
And that generally allows for longer maintenance intervals, right?
Depends. Heavy duty units are pretty thick and strong, the components, and they usually tend to run probably longer than jet engines in cases that I have seen.
What do you mean by run longer?
Beyond their recommended time.
You mean in terms of their overall lifespan or the time between
Overall
maintenance
time
cycles?
between maintenance, they can actually, we have seen them here. They are actually running longer hours than the required by the manufacturer. Jet engines, you have to be more careful on that one.
Okay. Does it generally cost more or less to maintain a new aero unit versus an old frame five?
The heavy duty probably costs a little bit more in terms of time. The outages tend to be a little bit longer. The repairs on the jet engines tend to be faster. Yeah, sorry. So the aero tend to be faster, on especially hot gas inspections tend to be faster than the heavy duty. Now, major inspections are a little bit different because you tend to send those to the shop. So you have to include into the shipping, maintenance, and return of those units.
Has Genera considered seeking federal funds to cover the O&M costs for the new peakers?
I believe there was an answer in our testimony already about that one, where it needs to consider the eligibility of that kind of maintenance, and I would say no.
I'm sorry, he's asked whether you've considered seeking federal funds for this. Is your answer no, you have not
No.
considered it?
No, because it's a regular maintenance on the equipment, and by federal funds, the requirement is an improvement, etc., not regular maintenance of the equipment.
This is in the hopeless category.
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay, next.
Okay, so you haven't considered it in the past and you're not considering it in the future, just to close that out.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
Redirect.
I'll be brief. Earlier we were talking about the long-term
Attorney
service agreements.
I have
I-
some questions if you want to hold your redirect after I do my question.
I will.
Okay. Again, what you provide in what we saw earlier, it said 244 megawatts. And I know you mentioned it was ISO temperature, I believe, things like that define how much megawatts the unit could actually provide. But actually, in April 17th, you requested, and NEPR requested to increase from 244 megawatts to 268 megawatts. And before you had 10 units, you had 2 GT units and 8 RICE units. Now you requested the Energy Bureau to approve only GT units. So those RICE units are not part of the request that you made us. I just want to make sure that you're aware that it's 268, and I want to know if the maintenance amount that you're requesting covers for those 268 megawatts and not the 244.
So the maintenance that we requested was for the total of the 8 gas turbines that we put on the request, which are 2 Siemens and 6 G LM2500s.
Which is the 268 megawatts, not
Um,
not the 244.
yeah,
There's a big difference from 244 to 268. That's why I want to say, and there might be a big difference in maintenance or LTSA. So I want to make sure that the numbers you're requesting for this maintenance and everything is based on.
it's based on the turbine itself. It's just the maintenance of the equipment. So one turbine has a set of equipment that is maintained, and that's based off of that.
Okay, so it doesn't matter the megawatts. It just only matters the amount of units.
In this case, exactly, it's the equipment per se, the one that we are negotiating the maintenance, correct?
Okay, I just want to clarify that it's 268 and not 244. That's in the testimony of the megawatts. So that's it. That's all.
Good afternoon, Mr. Quinoy. Earlier you were testifying about the long-term service agreements of both the 430 megawatt BESS and the peakers. Can you please explain to us the importance of the LTSA agreements?
Sure. Industry standards, you have two ways of maintaining your equipment. You're either sole provider of everything and you do it yourself, or you seek out contracts or partnerships, if you want to call it, with companies, just like we refer, the OEMs, that actually not only know exactly how to maintain your equipment, they can guarantee parts on time. They can troubleshoot whenever you have issues with your equipment. They have certain guarantees on that LTSA, whether it's performance, availability, etc. So an LTSA, what it does is that it helps maintain the unit in the best working order, and it also ensures that you have support from a manufacturer that is going to be there whenever you need them, so that unit comes back reliably as soon as possible. So for all terms and intended purposes, an LTSA is almost like a guarantee that the service provider and your equipment will help elongate the life of this equipment or this asset, and you can get the best out of it with the best performance as well.
Can you share with us an example of what would be the cost for repairs if you didn't have an LTSA agreement?
So the importance of the LTSA is that, as I mentioned, the vendor or the manufacturer or OEM actually takes on the responsibility of the equipment, of maintaining it, etc. What tends to happen is you lock in a price. So in theory, if you don't do this and all of a sudden you come out to market 4 years later and say, in 6 months, I'm having a hot gas path outage, I require the equipment, it'll probably cost you about 30-40% more because you're buying the equipment at the price of 4 years from now, not looking in the price today with guaranteed price increases, etc., so that it doesn't go above and beyond. Understanding, the important thing is understanding that as the market today keeps growing and the demand for units is so high, the services team and the support teams are not growing at the same pace that the selling or the manufacturing of the equipment is. So you're going to have shortages in the future that are going to be tough for you to actually make sure that you have the parts or the services or the support from engineering when you need to maintain your equipment. The LTSA helps you guarantee that.
So as I understand it right, the LT, to the extent someone sees the LTC as involving a short-term premium in price, it's like buying an insurance policy. I wasted $12,000 last year because I bought health insurance and didn't get cancer, right? But it's still a smart idea for me to have the health insurance. Is that the concept here?
It's like car insurance, not car warranty, if you want to call it, right? You have a 3-year warranty and you extend it to 2 years more. When you buy the car, it costs you $1,000. If you buy it at 3 years from now, it'll cost you $2,500, right? So that's more or less what it was like.
Yes, my next question would be for Engineer Gonzalez. Puede ser en español.
So are we moving now from redirect to cross-examination?
If you allow me.
Of course, that's fine. Just, you're finished with your redirect?
I am.
Okay, and now we turn to cross-examination. Counsel?
I'm referring you to Exhibit 64. Me refiero al Exhibit 64, que fue su informe pericial sobre los costos de generación. En ese informe, usted recomienda positivamente, ¿no?, la utilización de los Long-Term Service Agreements. ¿Nos podría explicar por qué?
Sí, Justo González para récord. Sí, los Long Term Service Agreement han demostrado el cumplimiento de mantenimientos time-based, o sea, en términos de tiempo. Todas estas turbinas son equipos que trabajan por horas equivalentes. Horas equivalentes no son horas de operación como tal. Por ejemplo, si tienen más startups, ya eso cambia las horas que son operacionales. Por eso los términos que se utilizan son horas equivalentes. Entonces, según van corriendo el tiempo, ellos van a tantas horas, va determinando qué tipo de inspecciones se le va dando a la turbina y va llevando todo completo. Hay diferentes tipos de TSA. Puede ser el TSA que solamente sea para brindar lo que se conoce a un Technical Advisor, un Field Technical Advisor, que pueda ir y dar el apoyo completo y dirigir inclusive todos los trabajos de una inspección, combinado con personal que tengan. Como también está el tipo del TSA, que el mismo manufacturero hace todo el trabajo. Nosotros, en mi caso, yo lo recomiendo porque hemos visto en toda la experiencia nuestra, a través de los largos años en la Autoridad de Energía Eléctrica, cuando estábamos, como también en el presente, aún de compañías que tienen sus sistemas tienen sus contratos del TSA, un mejor performance en términos de los equipos en mantenimiento. Hay el TSA que hay distintos tipos de programas. Está el programa RCM, que es Reliability Center Maintenance, mantenimiento centrado en confiabilidad. Muchos de ellos utilizan ese tipo de mantenimiento. Creo GE es uno de ellos. Por eso es que todo lo va estipulando por tiempo. Entonces se van definiendo lo que se llaman critical parts. Y hay algunas piezas que no se espera a que haya ningún tipo de daño, sino que se recomienda ya abrirlas, cotejarlas, inspeccionarlas, hacer la inspección que sea. Esa es la experiencia con eso. También concurre conmigo, vuelvo y menciono, ¿verdad?, que yo vi los informes que hizo tipo due diligence la compañía Sargent & Lundy. Y yo utilicé eso porque ellos hicieron gathering de datos. Fueron al field y recogieron. Aunque yo no utilizo sus conclusiones, yo utilizo esa información para validar muchos datos que también nosotros conocemos en field. En las veces que he ido, en las visitas, se han hablado acerca de los LTSA, las negociaciones que tienen, especialmente los de 5 y 6. Nosotros teníamos unas dudas ¿verdad? Relacionado a ese LTSA y fueron aclaradas en la planta de San Juan y por el personal que estaba allí y una persona específica del grupo de Genera que lo conoce muy bien. O sea que lo recomiendo por ese tipo de resultados, los resultados que brinda, que es un mejor performance y un mejor mantenimiento de los equipos.
Muchas gracias, no tengo más preguntas. Muchas gracias, no tengo más preguntas.
One moment. Let me check with my colleague and see if there's more that we can accomplish in the remaining few minutes here.
I have one question against one. Sorry about that. I believe it was Mr. Scat, that mentioned that they only have 8 existing peaker units. That the 8 aren't not working, only 4 are in operation. Is that correct?
Yeah, the current ones that are the current ones that are in operation today is the Wow. It has one unit in full operation at 20 megawatts. The other one is partial. It's at 10 megawatts.
Well, I'm sorry, 10 megawatts?
10. It's at 10. It's at half load because of some issues. Hobos just has one unit, and Yabacoa has one unit in operation.
How much is the?
Hobos is at 21 megawatts, but is operating at 20 when it's in service.
And the
And-
other one you said?
And Yabacoa is a 21 megawatt unit, is operating at 15.
I only have 3 units.
Yeah, the Guao has 2. One's at 20, operating at 20, and the other one's operating at 10.
That gives us a total of 20, 30, 50, 65. Thanks. So we're increasing now to 268 megawatts peakers. So that's more than 200 additional megawatts that you didn't have before in the system.
That's correct.
Is that a correct statement?
That's correct statement.
Did you take into consideration that for your adequacy? Can we say we don't need unit 8 or 10 that you mentioned with these additional 200 megawatts?
I want to say yes, is taken into consideration the unit 8 and the unit 10 just adds more just adds more reliancy to our reserve that we currently have.
Okay, but in your analysis, did you take the additional 200 megawatts in analyzing how much capacity you need in the system? Because actually, I always thought we were replacing. So I thought we were replacing 268 for 268.
Mhm.
So we never, at least I believe the Energy Bureau never considered that there was going to be an increase in
We also
This project.
what's not that we're not looking at, that we're not decommissioning, is the Palo Seco units also. So Palo Seco currently has 3 units that are in operation. One is in operation, 2 of them are down. That site has actually 6 peaker units at around 20 megawatts each, right? So those, out of those 6, 3 of them are operable. Only one of them is currently online.
Okay, how much does this 268 megawatt project increase in generation for the system?
Give me a second. I'll figure out the exact number for you. If it's yeah. So, if I do.
This is six units. It's gonna be the same. So, okay. So when you look at the sites, and we're looking at the nameplate rated capacity. If you got Hobos at 21, so that's 42. Yabacoa is the same thing as 42. Vega Baja, which we already decommissioned, was also 42. That's not operable. So right there you have 120. Coastal Stores, 2 units that's not operable. That's another 42. So I'm at 164. Aguirre also is 42 megawatts. That's not operable. So that's 201, right? The Guau's units, which is another 42. Let's just count them as 30. What do you got there? 230. And the Palo Seco units, which is 6 of them, and those are at 20 megawatts each, right? So
Yeah, but I don't want to consider the ones that are not operable. I want to consider the ones that, how much generation do we actually have that are operable with the peaker units?
just peakers alone, just peakers alone operable. We have a total of 769. Yeah, it's no. When I peakers, I'm looking at all the units, not just the ones I mentioned. I look at Camalache, Mayo West, Aguirre, Sico Combinao. I look at all those units because all those units are considered peaker units. If you're just referring to frame 5 units,
I'm referring to this project. We're replacing 10 units. So is there an increase of generation with these 10 units?
there's gonna yeah. If I just look at the units that are off, yeah, there is an increase of the
Of
10
how
units.
much?
So if I have 40 megawatts off, that is about 200 megawatts.
200 megawatts, it's an increase in
Yeah,
generation.
give or take.
Just want that to be in the record
Mhm.
because at least the Energy Bureau would never considered that we would have an increase in generation with the peakers projects.
Well, you need to consider that it's either an investment on the older units to bring them back to service, the ones that are damaged that we can fix, because some of those units can be fixed, but it requires an investment, or installing new units that are more dependable, easier to run, and have a longer life.
So that means you're gonna put the 268 and then fix those units and that's gonna increase?
No, we're not gonna spend, like I said, on our budget, we reduce all the expenditures for the peakers because we're
Then
gonna
we have an
decommission them.
overall of
Exactly.
200
So rather than invest money on fixing the other peakers, this project replaces them.
Okay, so then at the total, we have an increase of 200 megawatts.
Currently, from the ones that are currently operating, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, thank you. For about 10 minutes, Mr. Sosa will have questions. We picked a topic that we could do in 10 minutes because I do need to leave. Go to B2, Roman 2, B2, programs to transition from the constrained budget in fiscal year 26 to a potential optimal budget in fiscal year 28. We're going to do that now. Is that okay with everybody? All right, and we'll do the cross and the redirect, and then we'll close for the day. Is that okay? Or I could quit now. Should I take a vote?
Said to quit now? Yeah.
Okay, we'll do that. Okay, we'll do that. Then we'll come back. Please have a good holiday off. Thank you for today. I'll see you on Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. I am going to be thinking about, again, this is very difficult for everybody. The only thought that I have that I think is inarguable under the due process clause is not to use cross just to have people say what's in the record at all. But I also understand that that conversation can be a foundation for something else, and I didn't want to cut that off. But just give that thought some thought. I do want to thank the witnesses. I felt that your answers, for the most part, were concise. Compared to some of the other people that I've seen today, I felt that the questions were also quite concise. It's just that we have a lot to do here. And so thank you very much for your patience. See you on what day? Wednesday. Wednesday. Thank you and have a good day.
Mr. Hemplick, before we go, can we summarize the, as a matter of housekeeping, the deliverables that were required today, so everybody knows exactly what they need to provide and the timeline for it?
I'm going to commit to having a document out by email tomorrow morning. It would just be faster than my trying to do it. Now I have a large number of my own housekeeping materials, and I'll combine the question you just asked with those. So look for an email from me mid-morning tomorrow, which Secretary Seda will make official by order on Wednesday morning. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.